Looks like we're back in the studio. Los Angeles, 1997.
That's a good enough.
Brett Gurewitz behind the controls.
That's correct.
I don't need to tell the truth, but I never lie. I don't need to bow to you. You're just passing by. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I'll come back to you. Get inside my troubled mind with all of your threats. Sometimes I think I was blind. Not before we met. I never wanted to be the one that you depend on for your life. When you cry, it smells like soup. Sounds like Shonen knife. Never feel though I said all night. I gotta ride. Each time I said all night. No, I just might. You make me stay all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stay all night. I'm gonna stay all night. You're an evil little girl. I'm a twisted man, tearing through your perfect world. Make you understand. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I'll come back to you and do the things we do. Stay all night. I've got to ride. Each time I stay all night. No, I just might. You make me stay all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stay all night. I'm gonna stay all. I would never treat you bad. You deserve the best from me. If you want to keep your place, you better get down on yours.
Yeah, Todd wrote this one.
Yeah. You think?
This is not mine.
Stand all night, I gotta ride. Each time I stand all night, no, I just might. You make me stand all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stand all night. I'm gonna stand all night.
R.I.P. Todd.
Text the round robin your questions, comments, wagers. Give us a reason. Sleeper fantasy play, your best alternative line, whatever you have. Text the round robin 757 354 5517.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the brave and the home of the brave.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
You are tuned in to the Round Robin with Stephen Murray on Deep End Broadcasting.
love to spend. Still thinking about the night before my brain is on the bed. Wherever head I see the crowd and flashing through the lights. I'd rather see the crowd and have some fun.
Good morning. We are live just after 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time from our Chicks Beach Studios in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, the United States of America. This is the Round Robin. I am Stephen Murray. This is your guide, your show that dissects everything NFL wagering style. And here we are, just days away now from the opening kickoff in Philadelphia with the Cowboys and the Eagles on Thursday night. We'll get a Brazil game on Friday with the Chiefs and the Chargers. And then this show comes right back at it Sunday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, all morning long, dissecting every single wagering angle possible. And we'll get into some week one stuff today, for sure. We'll look at some futures stuff. We will go pick heavy on the program this morning. So it's time to put down your season-long bets. We told you to kind of wait through the preseason. Let's get past all these injuries. Let's get for example, if you have futures on Dallas, do you feel better that now that Parsons is gone? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But that's the reason why you don't wager during the preseason. You kind of wait for everything to shuffle out, make sure everyone's healthy, all your players are good for fantasy. Now is the time that we strike with our season-long bets. We do our fantasy drafts. If you're having your fantasy draft now, this weekend, or this week coming up, or in the last few days, you've done excellent with that. Good job there. If you had it weeks ago, then you have not learned the lessons. You're just a little impatient. And this is a show for the patients. This really is. In the world of criticism, of short, give me all the information fast, or I'm tuning you out. This is not that program. So if that's what you want, I'll tell you right now, just go ahead and tune on out. Because it takes us a while to find the best angles to make us money, which is the goal of this program. You just don't turn over one stone and say, all right, here we go. We're rich now. We need to turn over several stones, and we need to find the best possible plot to place our land and investment. Okay. So not a show for the impatients. It's brought to you by professionals. What do you want me to say? People might laugh at that right off the bat, but unless you have a combined, I think, what did we come up with? 61 years officially. If you have a combined 61 years experience behind the sports book and as a wagerer, then yes, you can tell me how bad I am and how bad I suck at this profession. But unless you have that, you should be listening and tuning in and learning, because you have no reason to say this program sucks. 10-3-5 last season bye weeks in the NFL. NHL, very successful season for us. In fact, our show, What the Puck is Going On, probably just weeks away now from airing our first show, as we'll come to you all season long, once a week for the NHL. But Sunday is our fair game for the NFL. That is us. We bring you this content early on. Today at 9:15, we sit right now, Eastern Standard Time. But next week, we start at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we need all that time. We need to wake up early, and no one has anything else better to do at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're awake, whether it's Home Depot or cleaning the house or making breakfast for the kids or reading your newspaper or traveling the interstates. You at least have us live to bring you up to the minute content and get you going for your NFL Sunday. So the way we style it will be, I'll basically come in and get the fresh lines out, give you a couple takes on some things, in the sports world, maybe some cool college things happened the day before. And how good is it to have college football going on right now all weekend long? Not like anything super crazy has happened, but it's just good to have the college football on, period. And we'll look at the fresh lines first thing Sunday morning. We'll get you ready to go on that. We'll look at the weather. We'll get your first look at weather, and then we'll get right to it. We'll bring in our guy, Dave Del Grande, who works for Field Level Media. He's a contributor to Deadspin, and he's out there in the San Francisco Bay Area, tapped into everything going on in the world of sports, and a expert fantasy, MrFantasy.com, senior analyst with the Stat Factor. So he has many a title and long-time sports writer in that Bay Area, newspaper writer. So we have him in his, I don't know, 45, 50 years experience or so, contributing to this program every week. So not only the West Coast perspective, but we'll get, in which we learn a lot from that West Coast perspective, but we'll get his thoughts across the National Football League. And we will go pick heavy with him. In fact, we'll get right off the bat with it here in just a few minutes with the Eagles game and the Chiefs game. So we're doing picks right off the bat here today, guys. There's no suspense about it. And, of course, this program is tunable at any time this week on our YouTube. So you can be up to date at any point if you work. Go ahead and plug us in and get ready for this Thursday night game and Friday night game. So we will get into the picks right away. We'll do some futures of stuff as well. I got a nice anytime touchdown score. We'll see if Dave likes my players for week 1. So we already got an anytime touchdown score ticket and lessons to be learned about week 1 as well, as far as how you approach it. Because week 1, of all the weeks, week 18 or 17 or whatever you want to call it of yesteryear, the last week of the NFL season is always a big kind of crazy question mark. Well, week 1 is just about the same thing. We do not know what we are going to get in a lot of these cases. So obscure touchdown scores, sure. I mean, I was looking through the list last year, and it seemed to be, the Cooper Kupp, I know, won us a nice ticket week 1. That kind of jigged my memory a little bit. We saw Breece Hall score week 1. So, definitely the superstars will be involved. But, don't be surprised if a Nick Westbrook-Kine now on the Dolphins gets a touchdown. Okay? So, anytime touchdown score coming up, ticket with Dave Del Grande, picks for the game, and we're going to pick some season-long touchdown rushers and receivers for touchdowns. Come up with a couple of tickets there, and then we'll get our preliminary Super Bowl because you almost have to do it prediction. Not that that means anything with injuries or whatnot, but if we got to throw something out there, I guess that we will. Heart into 100%, I would say not at all. I would say more or less a 30%. I care what I think about who's going to win the Super Bowl at this point in time. Let's take a week at a time. And this season will go by fast. But we will have a lot of fun doing this program. Okay, so a lot to learn, a lot to go over. And I guess we should get right to it. We got Dave Del Grande, and we have a nice long conversation with him for 2 hours. After that, we'll get Nephew Dave into the studio, and we're going to do some more picks here for week 1 and for the season. And then back next week, like I said, full force, myself, Dave Del Grande, Nephew Dave, the Ants Man. We'll get our man Nick Athen on at some point from Kansas City to talk about the Chiefs. Probably should have done that on this program. Maybe I still can. Maybe I'll give him a buzz and see what his thoughts are going into the Friday night game. See if we can get that perspective here towards the end of the show. So if we run past noon, don't be surprised at that. There's not much going on today in terms of there's no golf. going on this morning. A little bit of soccer. Baseball starts later. 2 college football games later. It's cooler temps out, windy. Even trying to go to the beach is a little cold, or the swimming pool, depending on what part of the country you're in. I know it's a beautiful fall-like day. We've had great weather here in Virginia in the last 20 days or so. But a crisp, cool morning. Nothing else better to do on this Labor Day. Let's go ahead and soak in some game-winning bets and knowledge for the season coming up in week 1. All right, so let's go out to the West Coast. He is with Field Level Media, longtime beat writer of the Golden State Warriors. He is a fantasy football expert, writing fantasy football columns for the last 40 years, a contributor to Deadspin and MrFantasy.com himself, the senior analyst at Stat Factor, our man from the San Francisco Bay Area, Dave Del. I think I'm more of like the Pat Summerall, John Madden era, growing up. The reasons why I liked football, just hearing, his voice. Pat Summerall, that is. Welcome to Candlestick Park, maybe in the late window of the games. Obviously, the CBS show with Brent Musburger and Jimmy the Greek was fascinating to watch. Always, you're looking live. You'll always remember that from growing up. And maybe not so much for me in college with Lee Corso, and this his being his last weekend on College Game Day. That's happening right now. The last part of it as we're recording this conversation, but I managed to catch the first hour or so. But it's really is the characters like that of the game that really have made me like the game through the years. That really have been able to attract me to the TV. Just never knowing what you're going to get from a pregame scenario to get you hyped up for kickoff. Maybe a little bit more nostalgic than others. But of course, so do you maybe. Growing up with everything that I just kind of said. Probably weren't running to the TV to watch College Game Day all the time. But, you got to respect what he's done for the industry and everything, correct?
Yeah. And there are a lot of people like that. I don't.
There's a good amount of people like that, yes. Yep.
Well, being from the newspaper industry, the media industry, you recognize real early the difference between the newspaper. This is, I'm talking 20, 30 years ago now, right?
Right.
The difference between the newspaper industry and the radio industry and the TV industry.
And let me interrupt you for a second, too, real quick. Just hold that thought. But I am myself longtime newspaper reader. In fact, my first gig was the school newspaper, Radford University, the Tartan, where I did win Article of the Year. But then I branched off into TV and then later radio. But go ahead. So I get all three of the fronts, and I love the newspaper aspect from where the old school comes from as well.
Yeah, but, as I was saying, the newspaper industry, as much as I loved my job, and it was a difficult job. People think it's all fun and games and what have you. But I recognize that there's a pecking order in the media industry that goes from newspaper reporters to radio broadcasters to television broadcasters. And, I was able to work 31 years at the same newspaper. You don't see that in the radio industry. You certainly don't see that in the TV industry. And so it's a tough, when you decide, and granted, Lee Corso did a lot of great things in his life way before he became a TV broadcaster. Yep. But some of the guys that you, Summerall, and some of these guys, Vin Scully, and some of these guys that you talked about, getting into the radio industry, getting into the TV industry. I watched so many of these people look like they were the next coming of Summerall, next coming of Scully and these people. And 5 years later, they were replaced by somebody else. That's just the way that industry is. Thank goodness that I never, decided to go in that direction. I would have had to move from town to town to keep jobs and what have you. It's just a very difficult lifestyle that I don't think people realize that much. For as much as, we've seen Corso now for whatever 20 years or whatever he's been on the pregame show, the TNT post-game and pregame show in basketball that we've gotten used to, and now that you're wondering what the future of that's going to be. It's just to, I'm not talking about even being great. I mean, just to exist, to keep a job in that industry for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. I look at that in awe. Like, there was no way in the world I ever could have done something like that. There was a time when fantasy football was just starting, and I was invited to do a weekly radio show, an hour a week at the flagship station of the Giants in San Francisco. And when I would, I was a newspaper guy, right? And so I would go in there and I'd see these guys who were doing the talk shows and the broadcasters and what have you. And it was just a whole different world. The ability to speak on the air, and to not make mistakes. I mean, I make a mistake when I'm typing up something. I just hit the delete button and I type in something new.
Right.
These guys have to be perfect all their lives. I just have a tremendous amount of respect, probably more so than most people, for the guys in that industry, the women in that industry. We just saw in basketball, the news this week at Doris Burke won't be working in the finals anymore. And you think, well, what does she do now? Well, fortunately for her, she's been around for long enough that maybe she made enough money that really she doesn't need to do anything else now. But there's nowhere to go. Sure. She gets a call from Kansas City saying, "Hey, we'd like you to come to Kansas City and be a talk show host here, or to be a newscaster on the local TV station, or whatever it is." They're like, "I don't want to move to Kansas City. Nothing against Kansas City. I'm a New Yorker. I've lived here all my life. I'm a big shot, but there's no job for you anymore." And to me, it's just it's just a tough industry to get into. It's a tougher industry to stick with. And then on top of that, you got to be really good. So I give all the credit in the world to the Lee Corsos of the world, who this wasn't even his gig. I mean, he didn't grow up in college thinking, I'm going to go be a television analyst someday. No, he wanted to be a football player or a football coach or whatever, which he was, very successfully. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to Doris, and to everybody in that industry who's made a career out of it.
That's why I own my own network. Is the only person who can fire me is me.
Be careful. I know some people.
Doris Burke, to me, I read the social media comments that she gets. The hate comments, I'll call them. I don't get it, man. She was always really, really smart to me, almost in a female Hubie Brown type of way, where she kind of taught you a little bit about the game even. So I actually respected her when she was on those programs, contrary to some of the things I read from people. But you get the hate everywhere, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you're in the public eye, and no matter what you do, I mean, even when I submit an article to, Deadspin or wherever, and they have comments that come in as they invite comments after the article, and you see them right there at the bottom of your article. Oh, you're so happy with this article you've written. And the first comment that comes in that says, oh, what a waste of time. Can't believe I had to read this. Why do they pay this guy? And then you see 2 or 3 or 4 of them, or 10 of them, or 20 of them, or whatever it is. I mean, even if there's 100 of them, you realize that, there's probably 10,000 people who read this thing, and 100 of them didn't like it. That's a pretty good percentage. And that's kind of the mindset you have to have, especially like I said, in a high profile job like Doris had or Lee had, or, these people, is that, yeah, you're gonna take a lot of arrows. You just gotta remind yourself that when you don't hear anything, that's a good thing. That means they like you. People don't often write positive things, right? They just love to hear themselves talk negatively. For every 10 negative things ever said about Doris, I'm sure there's 10,000 positive things. Now, I wasn't necessarily a big fan. I always thought, to me, my least favorite player in the NBA, bar none, is Jason Tatum.
Well known on this program, Dave, if you're a long-time listener.
Right. And she gushed over Jason Tatum, everything he did. And I think this is the biggest criticism about her, especially later on, is she was too positive. Jason Tatum could do no wrong. On the night when he shot 7 for 27 and 2 for 13 on threes, he was doing the little things,
Right.
Like what little things? He's got 6 turnovers. This man is dribbling around him every time. What little things is he doing? And yet, but that said, if that's the biggest criticism about you, that you're too positive, then you know what, you're doing all right.
This is going to be a good NBA season for you. You don't have to worry about Tatum.
Oh, hardly. You wait. I guarantee. I'm going to make my first NBA guarantee of the season that on opening night there will be more talk about Tatum than any other player in the NBA. Not only that, we already see it, and he's going to be back. I'm telling you, there's going to be talk about him being back at Thanksgiving. There's going to be, he's definitely going to be ready to go by Christmas. They're going to hold him back a week or two. He's going to be back the first week of January. You watch.
Are you pretty dialed in already to NBA preseason type of stuff, or is that more or less coming up in September? I mean, you've been doing this forever.
I try to pay attention.
Right.
I just wrote an article for Deadspin this week about how quiet it is in the NBA right now. But in fact, there's a lot. There's a lot still to happen. I mean, what I just said, some of these teams. I mean, you've got Oklahoma City, clearly identified as the power, and certainly in the West. And now because of Tatum and because of some of the Halliburton, some of these injuries, you have 2 teams in the East, Cleveland and New York, who have taken a step ahead of the rest of the pack. So those 3 teams are kind of like the targeted teams, and yet so many other teams in the league have done good things this offseason, and yet here we go with the predicted win totals for next season, and there's Oklahoma City, 10 wins more than any other team in the West. If you're one of these if you're the Lakers, the Clippers, the Mavericks, for crying out loud, the Rockets, I mean, you got to look at that like, guys, they're not that much better than us. Why? Are you telling me that we've got no shot? This year, we've done all these great things. Everybody's happy. We're all look at Dallas, man. We're a contender overnight, and and you're telling me that there are 6 other teams that you're predicting are going to get more wins than us. It's just deflated a lot of balloons. I mean, the message is out there that, hey, Lakers, you ain't winning anything right now. You still got work to do. And basically every other team other than the top 3, you haven't done enough. As happy as you are that, with all the things you've done, like I said, a lot of teams have taken, even the Clippers have taken a step forward that, the experts are slapping you in the face right now saying, I don't even know why you guys are showing up. You ain't beating Oklahoma City this year. And that to me is like, if I was the Lakers decision maker, I'd be like, oh man, I better re-examine. I thought we were a title contender, and they're telling me, man, we're not even close. And so I think that there are more moves to be made. I think that this will inspire over the course of the next month every contender to make that one more move if they can do it. Certainly the Lakers are looking to try to do it.
Right.
Obviously the Celtics, they're kind of a different story, but they're looking to do it. The Warriors are looking to do it. A lot of these teams are still, they're one move away, and can they make that move? The Warriors have Kuminga. This thing remains unsolved. There are 3 other free agents, restricted free agents out there, including Giddey, and 3 really good players who could make a difference on even a really good team. But how do you get him? What price do you pay? Do we really need to go out and get him? Anyway, my point is that if for no other reason than this Kuminga thing continues to linger, I've been paying attention to the NBA, whereas most people haven't, and probably rightfully so, because nothing is happening right now.
Well, I mean, this time last year, I think everyone pretty much thought the Celtics were a surefire candidate to repeat, and then look at everything that's happened since. I mean, they're a shell of their team now at this point, which is just drastic from where they were at one point.
Well,
Worse than the title,
it's amazing. But you know what? From having been here with the Warriors the last 10 years, you've seen the same pattern.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of the
Nothing
way
shocks
it
you
is
at
in
this
the
point.
NBA.
Yeah.
Right? You win, you add more pieces. The Warriors did exactly what they were supposed to do based on the NBA model, and that is, you draft, Starfleet, you draft wisely, and they drafted Curry, they drafted Thompson, and they drafted Green, right? And then you keep these guys for the rules are going to allow you to keep these guys for the rest of their career, regardless of what the cap situation is. And that's exactly what the Warriors did, and they built upon that. They won championships and what have you. But eventually you get to the point where we can't have these 3 guys on the team together anymore. They just make too much money. And then inevitably, you get to the point where you can't add players, and now you're crumbling. You got to get rid of one of them, what have you. And so Boston, even at this relatively young age, they've hit that spot. They, with Tatum and with Brown and with Holiday was making a lot of money. Porzingis was making a lot of money. Horford, White, they reached the point where, man, we'd love to keep this together and have a dynasty for 10 years. But you just can't do that unless you're going to pay this huge luxury tax, and you get penalties. You can't make certain kinds of trades. There's a lot that goes. I mean, the model is flawed. We've done everything that you told us to do. We're ready to. We're going to keep this core here for 10 years, and now you're telling us we can't do it. You're going to penalize us. We got to get rid of Holiday. We got to get rid of Porzingis. And then you throw one injury in there to Tatum, and then, like you said, they're unrecognizable right now.
There we go. We got our NBA fixed without even being planned.
Who'd have thought that?
Let's see here. Well, I mean, there's no reason for people to hate this program. We're 13. The overall last season, if we're talking about winning weeks, we are 10 wins to 3 losses and 5 pushes. We'll say that the 5 pushes comes with a figure of if we invested $100, we're plus or minus $100 to end the week. I mean, that's basically a push at the end of the day. So 10 wins, 3 losses, and 5 pushes. We're going to get into the season-long stuff, but we got a couple games. We should just go ahead and pick them. That way we won't have to worry about not tipping our cap. Let's get right to it with picking 2 games. I want to do the future stuff, but there's no need to not talk about these 2 games right off the bat. We'll encompass Parsons into this first one as well, now that he's gone from Dallas, and they are on the slate for the Thursday night opener at Philadelphia. But we'll do the season stuff later. We got a couple games to get to. But first, just general knowledge about week 1, and you can add to this list. And basically, I think you apply this method to weeks 2 and 3, kind of transition into your better thoughts of how teams are going. And the best approach to really take in my mind when it comes to wagering week 1 is, what do we know? All right, so that's one thing you need to kind of look at first. What teams are the ones that are established? Good coach, returning coach, good quarterback, been there, done that, playoff experience. I think the more continuity you have from the season before, the better. You want to not get overly invested in the new quarterback, new coach combo for sure. Any of that mix and match, you want to approach with caution. Let's see here. What else? We know, like you said before, these are competitive games here in week 1. So the NFL has planned that for these games to be potentially as close as possible. And then the other things I think to look at week 1 are really are players, maybe not necessarily of the obscure, but know that there will be situations that will dictate a player more likely scoring than another. And we'll go through the player props as well here after these 2 games about some of the other things we like in week 1. But there might be some efforts to get some guys more attention. In fact, just by rookie quarterback default, you can lean on the running backs a little bit more, closer to the goal line, I think. Maybe even tight ends come into question a little bit better, etc. So that's kind of my initial thoughts, or old school thoughts, really, about how to handle week 1. I believe we won last year, week 1 and 2. So add to that list, criticize it, agree with it. What do you got?
Well, I certainly agree with you that the schedule is intriguing, and intentionally so. I mean, it's designed basically to give everybody a chance to win on opening day. And so I think, what you end up seeing on opening day are a lot of surprises because we don't know that much about these teams. There's been a lot of hype about certain things. Certainly there are teams who have made coaching changes or brought in a new rookie or new free agent or whatever that won't be at midseason form on opening day. And so, to expect a team that maybe you think is going to have a really good season to demonstrate that in the first 60 minutes of play, I think is unrealistic. Excuse me. And so I just think that because of the way the schedule is laid out, if you're wagering on these games, you have to look at the underdog. in almost every case. I mean, I think you'd make money by looking at the visiting teams and by looking at the underdogs because these are very tight games. They could go either way. There's going to be a ton of surprises, and that's by design. Like I said, this is exactly what the league wants. Is for the last thing they want is for the worst team in the league to show up on opening day and in fact be the worst team in the league because that's bad for business. It's okay that the best team in the league doesn't be the best team on opening day. We'll get around to that eventually. But the up and coming teams, the teams that are looking to sell tickets, that are looking to promote their new stars. I think there's an opportunity for all of that on opening day, but I think when push comes to shove, I think what you're going to see on opening day is more games decided by a field goal or less than any other week in the season.
Okay, all right. We had no shortage of points in week 1 of last season. Looking back at it, there were plenty of games that went over the total. We mentioned that some of these over-unders are elevated from programs past. Let's see where they've kind of have moved at this point. So with the first game then, Eagles-Cowboys, how about Parsons right off the bat? I mean, is this just maybe good for the Cowboys at the end of the day that they get a decent player back and they can just kind of move on from this sort of thing? Or is this a bad message by Jerry Jones at the end of the day to get rid of this guy and send him to Green Bay?
My first reaction to this trade is, have we learned nothing from the Luka Doncic trade? It is exactly the same thing that happened with him. Now, he didn't have anything to do with wanting out or what have you, but he was a guy that got traded. You would never have expected him to get traded. And it's a big crushing blow to the Dallas fan base. So 99% of the people, and even people who know a whole lot more about basketball than me, look at that trade and say, oh man, this is the worst trade in NBA history. And then you come back 2 months later and now, oh man, Luka's out of shape. Look at the Lakers. They can't even win a first-round playoff game. We were giving them the championship 2 months ago. You know what? Dallas got some nice pieces in the trade. Oh my God, they just won the lottery. They've become a better team than Lakers in the wake of this trade. I mean, it's like, don't be hasty with the judgment on this trade. Yeah, they gave up a really, really good player. The Cowboys did. But he was a guy who didn't want to be there anymore. And unfortunately, when that happens, you usually get about 50 cents on the dollar when you look to trade him. Now, what did they get in this trade? They got an all-pro defensive tackle. Nobody's really all excited about that. And 2 first-round draft picks that people are complaining that, well, it's going to be Green Bay's picks and they're going to be late in the first round. I don't know if you've looked at the NFL draft recently, but any first-round draft pick is a very valuable, a career starting player in the NBA and the NFL. So I think they got 3, guys who should be among their top 10 or 12 players, for years to come. And that's a whole lot more than I would have thought teams would have given up, given, the fact that Dallas had no leverage in this situation. So, I think he's going to go on and be a great player for Green Bay. But I certainly don't think Dallas 2 or 3 years from now, once they have these draft picks, I don't think they're going to be worse than they are now. I mean, heck, they're already pretty bad. And so I'm willing to say, you know what? You were wrong about the Doncic trade. All you people who, made the hasty decision and rushed to judgment on that. And I wouldn't be surprised if you're wrong about this trade as well.
All right. The line's 7.5 now for the Eagles. So it's actually climbed over 7. This is the first time I've seen 7.5 and 47.5. And for me, in this game, if I'm looking at spread and total and looking for the best play over, under, or either side, I think it's the over. I don't see how it's not, to be honest. I like better, I think, the Philadelphia just team over. I think you do have that kind of momentum opening night at home, Thursday night football, shooting off the fireworks, raising the banner. You got the Cowboys coming in. I just don't and I get it. The team's probably a little rusty. But they've proven they're just a good, talk about teams of the established. I mean, they're as good as it gets in that regard. Philadelphia, just if I'm going to trust them, if I'm betting on this game, which I will be, I'm going to look for the best plays available, obviously. And to me, that's just a Philly team total over or the over. But I think it gets there with ease. Philly's 27.5. I would not doubt if they get into the 30s. The Cowboys, I think, can score too, but just not enough as Philadelphia will. So whether they cover or, lose this game by 6 or 7 or 8, not going to matter to me. I'll just stick with the Philly team total over. I'll find a couple props after that. But as long as it's a nice, pretty night in Philadelphia, there's no reason why these teams shouldn't be able to get well over that total to me. So your initial thoughts on that?
Well, having said a minute ago that I think that the schedule was created for parity here in the first week, this has to be one of the most or the most lopsided matchup. I just don't, for many reasons, I just don't see how Dallas competes in this game.
I don't either.
Physically or mentally, yeah. But I will caution this, though, about Dallas, and I'd say the same thing about Detroit, that these two teams were decimated by injuries on defense last year. And to go into this season and to presume that they're going to be two of the worst defenses in the league, I think is a huge mistake. I think you got to look back 2 seasons to say, to judge what's Dallas's defense going to be like this year. Now, granted, they just lost their top player again, but 2 years ago, Dallas was a very good defensive team. They were setting interception records, returning them for touchdowns, and then everybody got hurt. Well, what's a year later and everybody's back, and so I don't expect them to be an elite defense, but I certainly don't think they're going to. I wouldn't look at anything about last season and say, with Dallas, this game or any other game they play, and say, oh, geez, look at, they gave up 35 points a game last year. They were terrible on defense. That's, there was a reason for that. If you look at the guys they were starting, and of course, we don't necessarily recognize that because Dallas wasn't the team that was playing the Commanders in the first round of the playoffs. That was Detroit, who we got to see. We heard a lot about Detroit's injuries on defense. It can't be that bad. They won 14 games. And then you watch them in the playoffs. It's like, oh, who are these guys on defense?
Right.
They're terrible. But to assume that Detroit's going to be a bad defensive team this year, is a huge mistake. Now, 2 years ago, they weren't great on defense, but they were average. And so, these are the misconceptions that you have to worry about in week 1, and that is what I remember about this team is X, and so X is still going to be the case this year. And sometimes that's right, and sometimes that's not right. And I think that in Dallas's case, I think Dallas's defense is going to be a whole lot better this year than it was last year. Now, is that going to be enough to overcome, the emotional letdown of having lost your best player? Like you mentioned, all the pomp and circumstance surrounding the Eagles opening night.
Yeah, and the Eagles are just they are just talented at the end of the day. They're
right,
good.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like I said, this game looked probably attractive on paper, when they scheduled it. But now when you look at all these other games, you can see why the line on this game would be a touchdown or more, because this is, to me, this is the most lopsided of the first week matchups.
Now, when Saquon Barkley was with the Giants, he was a pass threat out of the backfield. Last season, that was one of the worst bets you could make on a week-to-week basis, was taking the Barkley passing yards over until the Super Bowl when he went past his number with ease. And I'm going to be right back on board with that. And especially if Dallas is going to have a little better something on defense, maybe that encourages a dump off or two. I got the Barkley over-under receive yards at 13.5. That's going to be way too light for me not to take. I think that's a layup. In fact, we're going to have a fun new one this year that you're going to laugh at me about, but I'm going to do this. So in my experience of doing the running back receiver yards, I don't know why, but it seems like they always have more in the first half than in the second half. Maybe that's because they're winning and they kind of shut things down or whatever. But we're getting offered first quarter alternate receiving numbers on the running backs. And let's see here. Saquon Barkley to have, first quarter alternate receiving yards for Saquon Barkley. 10 yards receiving is plus 430. 15 yards receiving is plus 750. We're getting greedy on that. I'm going to sign up for all of those and hope he pops that 15-yarder right off the bat in the first quarter. So where he didn't catch a lot of balls last year, I'm not going to get strayed away from not taking his light numbers as long as they're available this year.
Yeah, I mean, one of the fears going into this season is, and you see this in talking about the fantasy drafts and where should we draft these veteran running backs and can they be trusted? They're 30 years old now, or they're right around 30, or they've gone over 30. It's time for them to start playing less, and you wonder if any of this is going to be true. I mean, it's more likely to be true with a guy like Henry, who's he's knocked heads into the middle of the line 200 times a season for 10 years or whatever it's been. It's time for him to get a little bit of a break. But the question is whether that's going to be the case with Barkley this year. Will we see this on opening night, where you would expect you'd see it more on opening night than any other game, because you kind of go into the season with a game plan that says, you know what, this isn't the Super Bowl. We're not going to hand the ball to this guy 20 times tonight. I'm sorry, that's not. This just ain't happening. In September, in December, sure, we'll do it when the playoffs are on the line and we're in a playoff game. And then with someone like McCaffrey is kind of the same thing. I say those are kind of the big three among the old men running backs. Is that there's a lot of talk about, look, we can't run these guys into the ground as good as they are. And I'm curious to see on opening night what happens with Barkley here, especially if they get a little bit of a lead. Is he being taken off the field more? Is he not playing third downs anymore? What is it that they're going to do, if anything, to limit the number of carries? Because, like I said, it's one thing to have a game plan going into the season, and man, I'm going to stick with it this year. It's kind of like going on a diet. That first couple of days are really easy, and then after a couple of weeks, you ask yourself, why in the world am I doing this? Killing myself, and I think that's the way with a lot of these NFL game plans. They sound good going into the season. We'll try them a couple of times, and then after that, it's like, you know what, this was a bad idea. We need to give the ball. Our team is built around a core of skill people. We've got 2 wideouts, and that's all we use. We got a tight end, we got a quarterback, and we got 1 running back. That core of 5 guys is going to make or break us. Why are we kidding ourselves with a 3rd receiver, a 2nd tight end, a pass catching back? That's for the other teams. I think Philadelphia will eventually get back into that mode, and that's what makes them so great. But on opening night, I'm just not sure that that's the strategy. And so we'll see. And so I don't know. There's a lot to be learned on opening day. And one of the things that I'm curious to look at is how many touches is Barkley and Henry and McCaffrey getting on opening day? Because if they're getting 20 to 25 catches on opening day, okay, all this talk about using them less this year is a bunch of nonsense. But if we walk away from opening night, it's Friday morning, we look at the box score, and Barkley had 14 carries for 60 yards, 2 catches for 8 yards, then oh boy, I guess they aren't going to use them as much this year as they have in the past. So I've got my eye on that.
And if this game is turning into somewhat of a runaway, or you get the kind of the feeling that this team is really hard on Philadelphia and they're getting ready to blow the doors off the Cowboys, and you see a scenario in which Barkley's going to hit the bench, then you're getting plus 750 to start the game. I wouldn't maybe take it before the game, but wait until maybe the second quarter, right before halftime. Look at Shipley's number. Look at even the new player, A.J. Dillon. You want to like to get him involved maybe for a touchdown, get his confidence up a little bit. Quite capable touchdown scorer from the Packers days. He's 3rd on the depth chart. That'll be interesting to really see who spells Barkley, to be honest. But maybe anytime touchdown for one of those guys in the second half, if this does turn into somewhat of a runaway for Philadelphia.
That's interesting because, that kind of cuts 2 ways. And that is, well, if they're in that position to be resting guys in the second half because they're so far ahead, then these guys must have done really well early in the game. So, why don't we jump on them early on, as you discussed earlier? If in fact it's 24-7 at halftime, Philly's winning, well, then I'm guessing Barkley's got a touchdown or maybe 2. He's probably caught that 10, 15-yard pass that you've talked about, probably already rushed for 50 yards. So if you think that that's the way the game's going to go, rather than trying to guess, is it going to be Dillon who scores the touchdown? Is it going to be Shipley who catches the passes? Heck, why not just, what got them into that position? Well, it was probably because Barkley had a big first half. Let's just, let's go with more of the sure thing and jump on him early on because, he may not be playing late in the game if indeed this turns into a blowout. So, I don't know. Shipley intrigues me, as more so than Dillon. I see Dillon more as the guy who they're going to, they're up by 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and they're going to run him up the middle 6 or 7 times in a row. That only going to get you to midfield, and I'm not sure it's really going to get him any numbers. But Shipley's a guy who we could very well see on the very first series of the game. The third play of the game, it's 3rd and 8. Out goes Barkley, in comes Shipley. Who's this guy? Never heard of him before. And they swing him a little pass, and he, 15 yards and a first down. Cha-ching. And I cashed my ticket on him 3 plays into the season. This is going to be a great season.
Right. Eagles get into the 30s for you?
Like I said, I'm going to stick by my projection that these games are going to be somehow, some way, are going to be closer than you would think.
Okay.
I just don't see there being a lot of blowouts this week. And even though the matchup, especially this matchup, would indicate that it really should be, So I'm not going to say that I expect these games to be close and then come out on opening night and say, "Yeah, give me the favorite." Oh, they're going to kill them. That's not what I would project on opening week. And when you look back, it's easy enough to say, I think all these games are going to be close. And then you look at all the games and you say, this game really shouldn't be that close.
Right.
Did I say the visiting team's going to win a lot of games? I don't see a lot of visitors winning this week as you look at them individually, but then when come Monday morning, Tuesday morning, and you look back and say, okay, let's see how that first week went. Oh boy, the underdogs were, 10-6. The visiting teams were 11-5. Well, man, why didn't I just put a blank ticket on all of these teams, because this was predictable going in, and I just didn't have the guts to do it. It's hard to do. It's hard, everybody loves the home team. Everybody loves the favorite. Everybody loves the big name team. It's hard to take the underdog, sometimes or most of the time. And this will probably be, oh my God, based on last year, how in the world, would I make a bet on, fill in the blank, 10 different teams who were all terrible last year, and you assume it's going to be the case this year. Well, you know what? It's not going to be the case this year, especially early on. Half of these teams are going to surprise you on opening week. And so maybe instead of trying to guess which ones they're going to be, just blindly take the point and take the visiting team in every game. And that would lead me to, make a very small wager on Dallas in this game.
27-20 final score. That keeps it under 47.5, and the Cowboys cover by half point. Let's see, 27-20 correct score, 60-1 odds. I'm not nearly as excited, and I like my Philly over. I think that's a good one. The next game doesn't excite me too much. I think it's a good, fun game, but this has a 20-19 type of feel to me. I'm not sure what kind of turf we're going to get. I think it was okay last year in that game that ended up going over the total with Green Bay and Philadelphia. You said yourself, if the Chargers can just beat the Chiefs a couple of times, then Harbaugh maybe gets his ticket to Coach of the Year. If there's any teams that look determined in the preseason, it's definitely both of these teams. They kind of played assertive for sure, even though the starters didn't really play for the Chargers. You just got the feeling that the Chargers were organized, moving the ball with Trey Lance. And the Chiefs, they did play their starters a decent amount, and they didn't look bad at all. I don't know, Dave. I mean, to me, this is a coin flip, but if I had to trust anyone, it would be the Chiefs in this scenario. I'm not even sure if I like any props. Maybe you can turn me on to something here yourself. Maybe I'll have more thoughts closer to kickoff in 6 more days. I'm sure something will pop in my head. The Chief receivers or the Chief running backs were notoriously on my list for their over props in receiving last year, and they were mainly duds. Mahomes never seemed to really throw to the running back at all. The one guy who did get it for me was the tight end number 2, Noah Gray. He did very well for me. So maybe I'll look at something with him at the end of the day. Let's see. Noah Gray for 25 yards is plus 178. 30 yards plus 250. Maybe I'll get on board with something like that. But yeah, if there's a game to be cautious of, I think we have, it's written all over the map to me. Just don't get overly invested in this one, I think. Your thoughts?
Yeah, a great game coming right out of the chute. I think, unfortunately, I don't think this game belongs on opening week. it's just too good of a matchup. And I mean, it's very possible as we get to the Thanksgiving and into December that these two teams have become two of the top four, let's say, in the AFC, potential matchup for the semifinals or the playoffs or the conference finals. And we look back to, man, we gave away that matchup to a weird site, a weird date, to start the season. That was a huge mistake. And I agree with you that certainly Kansas City, much like Cincinnati, it came out in this preseason with a message that says, you don't want us on opening week because we're going to be better prepared than you are. We're going to risk preseason injuries to play our guys in the preseason, but we're going to come out and win on opening week because of this tactic that we've used. And yet, like you said, the Chargers had a great preseason too, and never underestimate Jim Harbaugh. College football, pro football, whatever he's doing, he's got this team on a positive trajectory. They've added some new pieces offensively. I'm curious to see how that plays out. That's a complete guessing game to me at this point. How much are they using the new running back? Are they using Harris? Can Harris even play on opening day? They've brought in Allen as another receiving option. Is that going to cut into McConkey? They have more weapons, but that's not good from trying to project which one is going to be the guy, or any of them going to be the guy today. You look at the Michigan teams over the years; they didn't have, all American wide receivers or all American running backs. They opened up a new can of running backs basically every game. There, they had good ones. They got drafted, but it was, it just seemed like it was somebody different every week. And now they have that kind of depth, both in running and in receiving. So I think Chargers. I think they're 50-50 to win this game. And remember, the Chiefs won't have Rice now to start the season, which is, a big blow to what they will eventually be. Probably means more thrown, to Worthy, like it was at the end of last season. He might be someone to jump on early on in the season. I think this game's a toss-up. Two good teams, and I expect a very close game that's going to come down to the kicker.
Right. Okay. 45.5. Does that seem a little high to you?
It does, but you brought up the last year's game, which got way out of hand offensively. I don't remember the score of that game.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have that there in front of you.
Somewhere.
But it seems to me it was a very high scoring. In a game between two really good teams that you would have expected. Heck, we probably had this conversation a year ago that this, repeat, stop me if you've heard this already. Two very good teams that's going to come down to a field goal, but that certainly wasn't the case last year. And it was correct. You have
Let's see. Chargers and Chiefs.
No. I'm talking about the four.
The Brazil game.
The Packers, and the Eagles last year. Seems to me, again, off the top of my head.
The Packers. I'm sorry. The Chiefs Chargers, just so we know, last year both of those games went dead under.
Right.
Packers scheduled 2024. And it was, I want to say it was like.
Oh, yes, 34-29.
Right. It was weird, but it was up there. Yep.
Yeah.
34-29.
Right. And so that's kind of my point is that I don't know, who would have predicted 34-29 for this game. And who would have said necessarily that if that game were at Green Bay or Philadelphia, that we'd have had a similar type of game? I think sometimes these foreign games get out of hand for no apparent reason. Some teams respond to it better than others. The surface is different. The fans are different. The ball bounces crazier. I don't know what it is, but based on that game last year, I would think that this year's game could be equally crazy, and yet turn into a game that'll come down to a field goal. So I would not. I have no interest in an under in this particular matchup. Like I said, if the game were at LA or at Kansas City, okay, I'm in. But on this crazy field, and who knows? Who knows what these guys had for breakfast that day? I'm going to expect something crazy to happen in this game, and that'll probably lead to more points than you would expect.
Okay. Other things for week 1, and I don't want to really get into the picks per se, but something tells me to take Adam Thielen for a touchdown. Now, I would like that more if the Vikings were at home on that Monday night game. And I get it. You're just trying to win the game, so you're not going to try to get the guy the ball just to win the game. But 3-1 for an anytime touchdown, for nostalgia's sake, I've said that word before already on this program. Give me some Adam Thielen at 3-1 for a touchdown.
I'm with you 100%. I think it was a great move by Minnesota to bring him back. Not necessarily long term, because you wonder, as Addison returns from his suspension, what's Thielen's role going to be? But at this, the Bears had to be looking at this game like, all right, look, they don't got Addison, they've got this young quarterback. Let's double up on Jefferson, and we'll shut him down. And now all of a sudden, like you said, they bring in this other guy on the other side, a proven receiver, a chain mover, a guy who's going to get a lot of looks. He's going to take him a whole lot of time to adjust to a new situation. He's been there, done that in his NFL career. I expect him to take the field, at 100% capacity. I think he's a very good play in this game. I think he's we've always talked about Chicago and their new look with the new coach, the new attack, some new weapons on offense, the new line. This is a game where I think Chicago really has an opportunity to put on a nice show against a pretty mediocre Minnesota defense. But Minnesota, I think their offense is forgotten. They're thinking, somebody's thinking that, man, they lost Darnold, and they're not going to be the same offensively. Like, are you kidding me? That statement has never ever been true at any level with Darnold. And who would have thought that you could possibly go in the other direction once you lose Darnold? Now, he had a great year last year, but does that mean he was a great quarterback? I think we saw late in the season that probably wasn't the case. That probably has more to do with the skill people they have there, and Jefferson being maybe the top receiver in the entire game. I think Minnesota can score points in this game. I think Chicago is going to score points in this game. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game that could go either way. And there are probably many people in this game where you would, I would say, yes, give me some of that. But Thielen is right up there on the list because he's probably the least is expected out of him. People don't even realize he's on Minnesota. So I think that's a very smart move on your part.
$20 wins you $160 if you take DJ Moore and Thielen for a touchdown. So let's keep Thielen on the list, and I'm going to come up with a couple other ones that seem obvious to me, and we'll see what you think. And I don't think this team's going to score a lot of points, in this game. But when they do, how's it not going to be Tony Pollard for Tennessee, to be honest? Rookie quarterback, Pollard is as veteran as they get. The guy who takes away his shares is injured. The guy behind him is unproven. So why not Pollard at plus 155? I get it. Denver's got a really good defense. I don't think Tennessee gets shut out at the end of the day. They'll somehow get their 14 points, 17 points. And when they do, Pollard has to be one of those who scores. So give me Tony Pollard on that list at plus 155 as well. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's outstanding thinking there. And one of the things about opening week, I've probably mentioned this 5 times already, is we don't know what to expect of the ball distribution on some of these teams. We just talked about Chicago. How much is Swift really going to be their running back? Are they going to share time there? They've got like 4 different wideouts who could all be real good. Is it going to be DJ Moore? Is it going to be Burton? Is it going to be, Odunze? Is it going to be Loveland? There's, I can't wait to see what the ball distribution ends up being go afterwards, because going in, I really don't have any idea. You could say this about a lot of teams. You definitely would not say that about Tennessee. Just like you said, you know where the ball's going with Tennessee. If they had Spears healthy, then there would be some question, is he going to be the pass catcher? They're going to fall behind. How much are they going to use Pollard? No, they don't have Spears. They've got Pollard. That's it. And so he's got to rank right up there among the leading total number of carries among backs this week. The longer Tennessee can stay in this game, and that's, of course, a big question mark because, Denver's a good team, the more they're just going to pound the ball with him. And I just think that on sheer numbers alone, I'd be shocked if he didn't get at least 15 carries in this game, probably closer to 20 if they can hang in there, maybe even throw the ball to him some. And like you said, Tennessee's going to score a touchdown in this game. They'll probably get at least 2 touchdowns. If they get 2, Pollard's going to get one of them, if not both of them. So I think that's not a whole lot's predictable in week 1. Philadelphia, predictable. We know where the ball is going, right? Chicago, totally unpredictable. We have no idea where the ball is going. Tennessee, womp, womp, womp. They're over on Philadelphia's side. We know where the ball is going on opening day. Yeah, you might be looking at Cam Ward and how good is he at throwing the ball. The last thing the coach they're going to do on opening day is, all right, Cam, here, throw ball 50 times against Denver's defense.
Right.
Don't worry, we got a backup quarterback. We can play next week once they kill you. No, they're going to come out very conservatively, and it's going to be Pollard until they have to throw the ball. And like I said, hopefully they do enough on offense, or they get that, they get that long kickoff return, or they get a turnover that puts them in position so they can have a short field and score the touchdown or 2 that we're going to give Pollard the opportunity. So yeah, that's another one. I think you're right. You're right on.
All right, I got a couple more running backs that are going to be the quarterback's best friends here for week 1. And I'm going to throw Breece Hall on that list as well. With Justin Fields, this will be his, although experienced, this is now his 3rd team, new offense, etc. How comfortable do we get this guy? Well, let's throw it to Breece Hall out there in the flats, and we'll let him run it in 25 yards for a touchdown or whatever the case may be. Or, if we get to the goal line, let's not get too pretty. Let's just give it to Breece Hall up the middle. And now maybe he gets counterfeited at times from the his counterpart, Braylon Allen, correct? Yeah, Braylon Allen.
Yes, Allen.
But week 1, Breece Hall scored last year. I don't see why that won't happen again this year. So I'll throw him on that list.
He's an interesting one. I mean, the opinions on him are polar opposite going into this season. There are a whole lot of people who believe that Allen is going to be their top back this year. At best case scenario, they're going to split carries. And then there are some who think that, kind of like you there, that, you know what, this guy's very talented. He's the most talented offensive weapon other than Wilson that they have on that team. They've got to showcase him more than they did last year. They got away from it last year. I don't know which Hall we're going to see this year. I got to believe he's talented enough that to go in thinking that he's going to be our bell cow running back is probably the right thing to do. But I'm concerned about the quarterback. He seems to be one of these guys with a fastball and no changeup. In other words, a guy with a big arm, but can't throw the ball to the running back in the flat. He'd rather take off running with it than to swing it out to his back. As opposed to the other team on the field in this game has the opposite quarterback with Rodgers. Rodgers ain't going to run the ball. He might see a 15-yard opening in front of him in the field. He doesn't care. He'd rather lateral it to his offensive tackle, let him run with it. And so he swings the ball to the back much more often than any other quarterback. I'm just worried that, is this going to be an effective complement to each other? And so here's one where I don't necessarily share your enthusiasm, but I'll gladly say next Tuesday when I see the box score and I see that they threw the ball to the back 6 different times in this game, and it happened to be Hall and not Allen. Okay, I agree with that strategy. I think they need to get him the ball more, but I need to see it before I'm going to predict it.
Okay, the Bengals are going to get multiple scores. In my mind, Chase Brown gets at least one of those. So he's going to go on my list.
A minute ago we talked about the teams that are really gearing up to win in week 1. It seems that Kansas City went in with that approach to the preseason, and maybe ranked number 2 on the list of, we took the preseason most seriously list, because Cincinnati's number 1 on that list. There's no doubt about it. They've heard ad nauseum about the slow starts that have given them an uphill climb, unsuccessful uphill climb, mind you, to the playoffs in recent years. They're going to run into heavyweights very soon, because that division, if you throw out Cleveland, nothing's going to come easy when you're playing Pittsburgh twice and Baltimore twice. They need to come out of the chute. Again, given their schedule, where they start with not only Cleveland but Jacksonville the first 2 weeks. Then follow up with Minnesota, Denver,
Yeah,
Detroit,
it's hard.
Green
It's
Bay,
hard.
Pittsburgh. And
They're enough to be my survivor pick right off the bat. That's
right.
for sure.
They can't go into that week 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, those 5 games at 0-2. They can't even really afford to go into that, that stretch 1-1. They've got to be 2-0 to start the season. They get a nice matchup in week 1. They get the second game, another nice matchup. That one's at home. I mean, they've got to be 2-0, and they're preparing for it. And I just think we're going to see a very polished performance here by Cincinnati. And, Cincinnati is much like Philadelphia that we talked about. There really aren't a whole lot of surprises on their offense. Where the ball's going. It's going to It's going to Higgins on one side, it's going to Chase on the other side, or it's going to Brown, when they hand the ball off. I mean, those are your Barkley and A.J. Brown and Smith, of the Bengals. And, they've got a quarterback who distributes the ball well. And so I think you can look at all three of those guys, in what should be a nice weather game. Worry about the weather this time of year in Cleveland, hopefully. I think that I think Cincinnati is primed to put on a nice show here, and go in there and win this game and put up some numbers too. So yes, they're going to score 3 or more touchdowns in this game. I wouldn't be shocked if it were, Chase got 1, Higgins got 1, and Brown got 1. But I think certainly Brown figures into that equation. And if all he needs is 1, then I think you can count on that.
Yeah, you know what? A $10 ticket on just Brown, Higgins, and Chase, Jamar Chase would be not the worst thing for just a small payout. Because you figure 2 of the 3. Can you just get the third one in? You figure 2 of the 3 are a lock, and the third one probably is a lock, right? You just need it to happen that way.
Well, that's the thing about about the Bengals. More so than I guess with the Eagles, the equivalent of Chase on the Eagles is Barkley.
Right.
I mean, the one guy that you've really got, he's going to be the main weapon. And what Chase does for Cincinnati is he opens up the field for Higgins and for Brown. I mean, you've got to focus your defense in stopping Chase. Well, you know what? You do that, and it allows the other guys, to have maximum performance. But at the same time, you can't stop Chase no matter what you do. So why are you wasting your time putting 2 or 3 defenders over on his side of the field when it doesn't matter? He's still going to get his touchdown. And because you did, you gave Higgins a touchdown. And because you did, you gave Brown his touchdown or 2. So I think it's probably kind of dumb, to play 3 different guys on the same team to score a touchdown. But if any team's going to do that, maybe other than the Eagles, maybe even more so than the Eagles, this is your team.
Yeah, it's 50-50, and they'll pay you better than that. Yeah, you got to figure. At least in your head, there's a 50-50 chance all 3 will score, and they'll pay me better. I'll get 2 to 1. Okay, I'm going to add 2 more players to this list. I think you'll like one. The other one you'll be skeptical of, and I'm skeptical of it a little bit. I just think they get him involved. But I'll start with the obvious one first, and I think that's James Conner. I mean, how does he not score once against the Saints? He's minus 150 for a touchdown. I think the Cardinals, they might not come in and score 40 points, but they'll score 24 points and win that game 24-10 and whatever the case may be. And Conner's going to have one of those touchdowns. So throw James Conner on that list for me as well.
Agreed. I think that you're right. I mean, James Conner, quietly, I would say.
Yes, very quietly, yes. He'll get his receiving yards, too, easily. So go ahead.
Yeah, handles the ball as much as anybody in the league. With him, you don't really worry about him coming off the field, especially in a game like this where you would think that they would be ahead or, tied the entire way, where they wouldn't have to deviate from a somewhat conservative game plan. I think he could run the ball. He's going to be like Pollard. He's except on a way better team. He's going to be the guy that you can count. He's going to rank up there with the leaders in touches, in this week, and in a game that they should win. I mean, the difference between him and Pollard is that you worry about how far is Tennessee going to fall behind, and are they going to start throwing the ball more? What are they going to do? That's not a concern with Arizona. There's no way they can fall behind far enough at this game where it's going to take touches away from Conner. I just think that, on numbers alone, he might be a guy who you'd look to score 2 touchdowns, because unless the quarterback there is going to start running more this year, and there's some talk about that. But and unless that happens on opening week, I think you're looking at him being the weapon, down near the goal line, and they're going to be down there in this game, against one of the worst teams in the league.
All right, Mike Vrabel went to Ohio State. How does he not use his new toy? Now, the one reason I might have drawbacks here is the way Dan Campbell approached Jahmyr Gibbs. If you can recall, he kind of kept the brakes on for the first 2 or 3 weeks to get him used to the job, and then he turned him loose on the rest of the NFL, which I capitalized on at that time because I knew that was going to be the case. But how does Vrabel not give his guy Henderson a chance here? I get it. You don't want to demoralize Ramondre Stevenson right off the bat. So maybe you pair both of those running backs on a ticket together, each to get a rushing touchdown. But I'm going to throw Henderson on the list. I think the Ohio State connection, I get it. You throw that kind of thing aside, but Vrabel in his first home game with the Patriots with that new toy that everyone's excited about, you're not going to give him a chance by the goal line. I think he gets his chance. I think he scores. So throw TreVeyon Henderson on that list for me as well.
Yeah, well, if this is the one I'm supposed to be skeptical about, you're wrong.
Right.
There is a concern. How is New England going to spread the ball around this year? They have this toy, this quarterback, who you would hope in his second season here would be more comfortable, would throw the ball more than he did last year. But he did fine last year. I expect more out of their passing game this year, even though they don't really have great weapons. They're weapons in the backfield, and this could be a rare situation where you actually have two running backs, kind of like Detroit you mentioned, where both of them can be successful, because they're playing a team at home that they really should beat. Then why not hand the ball to Henderson 18 times, and why not hand the ball to Stevenson 14 times, and let's just grind it out. The coach would love to do that. Take the pressure off his quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to do that in this game. So even if you're worried that he's going to split carries with the other guy, there's a scenario there where that works out fine for you, because they just ball control against what I would consider to be one of the weaker teams in the AFC. And I hate to say that because Raiders are my team. Of course, Pete Carroll's my neighbor. I just the Raiders already have their star wide receiver. He's demanded to be traded. It's going to be interesting to see their rookie running back and how much how much they burn him on opening day. I presume that they're going to come right out and feed him the ball left and right. But I think New England's the better team in this game, and I think that bodes well for their running back. And I agree with you that I think Henderson could be surprisingly good. Maybe even as good as the Raiders running back Jenke when all is said and done this season. So, good idea. Jump on him early.
All right, so we'll get 157-1 odds if these six guys can score. Adam Thielen, Tony Pollard, Breece Hall, James Conner, Chase Brown, TreVeyon Henderson. Your least favorite of the bunch is Breece Hall, correct?
Yes, correct. But that's those names. Each case, again, to me, with the possible exception of Hall, in each case, you would say, I really do think this is going to happen. And yet you're getting that kind of price on that ticket. I think that, it could make, we've waited 6 months for this, and, happy birthday.
So what we'll do is we'll dumb down one ticket with we'll take Brees Hall out, so we'll leave it with the 5 players. That's now 63-1. So we'll throw a little something on that. 15 gets us $938. All right, so we're locked in there.
I mean, I can hear the wheel spinning. Oh my God!
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Where does it stop? It's 50-1, 150-1. First half, second half, opening kickoff. Will an opening kickoff be returned for a touchdown on opening day? Give me the yes on that.
Oh, it's spinning out of control, especially with baseball. Some of these teams pounding. How about this? Did you see this to get it way off the sidetrack? A baseball first happened Friday night, Dave. We actually had a position player get relieved by a pitcher because the Mets up 19-4 put in Torrens, their backup catcher, to be the pitcher just to salvage the bullpen. But once it got to 19-9 with 1 out and a man on third, they had seen enough, and they had to bring in Stanek to get the last 2 outs. So the baseball over got smiling and Flushing last night.
It's funny how my mind works, but can you imagine that kind of thing happening in tennis? In tennis, where they're complaining that you didn't say, I'm sorry, when your shot hit the top of the net and came over on my side, and the other person saying, you served underhand, in the 4th set of our match. It's like you got to be kidding me. They're a baseball game. They're putting in the catcher. You guys are so bad. We're putting in the catcher to pitch the last inning. And it's one thing when you're way behind. So this happened in the Giants game the other night against the Cubs. When you're all right, you're way behind, and you bring in some other, you backup infielder or whatever. Okay, fine. Put them in there, but don't complain when we're all swinging for the fences against them, which they all do, and they pop up and everybody laughs. All right, that's fine. But oh my God, the pettiness in tennis. Oh, okay. Anyway, we're not talking about that. Yeah, it's it has gotten out of hand, though, I must say, the number of times that teams are using non-pitchers to pitch. Come on, you've got to.
The fans let them hear it too. The fans.
You've got to have somebody down there,
right?
Who can pitch those. What are you saving him for? What are you saving your 7th reliever for? In case tomorrow night's game goes 16 innings, put him in there for the 9th inning, for crying out loud. Anyway, we're talking football.
Well, the fans let him hear it too, and they weren't booing Torrens for giving up 4 earned runs in a third of an inning. They were booing the fact that all that was actually just happening, I think. All right, back to our ticket real quick. If we take Thielen out for the Monday night factor, that way we won't have to sweat it out on the Monday night. We can play Pollard, Chase Brown, Connor, and Henderson and get 15-1. And we'll probably throw a bigger chunk of change on that as we get closer to kickoff. Maybe even put Barkley on that ticket, right?
Well, you want to cash and have a big breakfast Monday morning? What's the hurry?
Yeah.
Gee.
And patience, yes.
Come on.
All right. I'll let you pick the category here. Season long, receiving touchdowns or rushing touchdowns, and the choice is 6, 8, and 10. So players to get 6, 8, or 10 rushing or receiving. Which would you like to dive into with the most confidence here?
Well, I think the rushing touchdowns would be easier. So let's start there.
Okay. Let's see here. Player milestones. All right, rushing touchdowns. You want to go 6, 8, 10, or 12? That would be the actual list.
6.
6 is the layup number.
Because that'll give, you start getting 8, 10, 12, you know,
Injuries,
I'm not gonna
sketchy.
give you, I'm
yeah.
not going to give you a name that's going to surprise you. You know, at 6, there are going to be a handful of guys who score 6 rushing touchdowns this year that you're going to get a nice price on that you wouldn't necessarily think, you know, would be the case. So let's go for the tell people something they don't already know category.
All right, and let's see here. This list is actually shorter, so I don't know if this is as fun as the receiver list. Okay, so I'll start from the longest shot. If you hear someone you like, tell me yes. Throw them on there. Patrick Mahomes, plus 290.
Whoa. This is
Rushing.
6 rushing
Yes,
touchdowns?
yeah, he's on this list.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Aaron Jones, plus 240.
Okay, I like him. I think Minnesota is going to be a very high-scoring team again.
Right.
And as much as, you know, we heard this last year too, that this guy gets hurt all the time, and you know, we're going to try to get somebody else in there. It just doesn't necessarily happen. You got a quarterback there who's not a running quarterback. You know, not going to steal a lot of touchdowns. I think he'll make it.
All right. Kyler Murray, plus 195.
Pass.
Lamar Jackson, plus 160.
You would think so.
All right. Alvin Kamara, plus 140.
I mean, I don't see that they have any other options. You kind of talked about this
Right.
from the, you know, with Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah,
Almost by proxy.
Who else? You know, as bad as New Orleans, New Orleans might be the worst team in the league. They're still going to score, you know, 30 touchdowns, 40 touchdowns, whatever it is over the course of the season. Let's say 30, so that'd be even less than 2 a game. And well, you're going to tell me that Kamara's not going to get 20% of those? I mean, he's got to get closer to 40, 50% of those. So I think that's. I'd put it even ahead of Jones.
Okay. Breece Hall, plus 145.
I'm going to pass on that.
DeAndre Swift, plus 120.
Well, I'll pass on that because I think there are other options that are better, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's a team that should score points. If their passing game is moving the ball like it, expected to this year, we've seen this with Johnson in Detroit. He loved to run the ball in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many touchdowns Montgomery scored last year? And granted, Swift is not Montgomery, but he might be the closest thing Chicago has. And so I take that over, but again, he doesn't make my heavyweight list.
All right. Travion Henderson, plus 115.
I would definitely take that over. Yes. I'm going to rate him. I'll put him behind, in the number 2 spot.
All right. Well, we're up to 56-1 right now on these 4 guys. Aaron Jones, Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, Travion Henderson. Okay. Pollard.
Oh, easily.
Minus 125.
Oh,
okay.
He's on top of the list.
Jaden Daniels, minus 145.
Yeah, pass.
Fields, minus 165.
Yeah, pass.
Kenneth Walker, minus 180.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried. Maybe
got injuries, Charbonnet, right?
Yes, exactly those 2 reasons. As mainly Charbonnet. Because he's a big kind of tough back who, if there's any question about, the health there, then why are we having him plunge it in from 2 yards out? We can just put Charbonnet in there. So I'll pass on it.
All right, Chase Brown, minus 190.
Well, now we're starting to get into the very heavy prices, but he's easily going to make it.
So this takes us from now we're laying favorites, but for example, right now if we have $10 down on Aaron Jones, Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, Travion Henderson, and Tony Pollard, If we add Chase Brown at minus 190, we go from 109 to 1 odds to 158 to 1 odds. So we're still jumping pretty good.
Yeah.
So throw them on it. Okay. Achan minus 220.
I'll pass on that.
All right. Bucky Irvin minus 240.
I'll pass on that.
Connor minus 260.
Yeah, I mean, I see, being that you've already got the quarterback on the list, they expect the quarterback to score, take some of the touchdowns away. But he one touchdown basically every 3 games for your full-time goal line guy. I think, yes, easily.
Okay. Let's see. Now, if we add, so right now we're getting 200 to 1 on these 6 guys. We can just kind of keep it here for these 7 guys.
I mean, if we're now getting into minus 200 or higher,
minus 300 or higher.
Really. Yeah, exactly. The higher guys. So yeah, I'm unlike you. I'll put on the brakes. Give me 6 guys on this list all around. All around even money. Sure, I'll lay $1.90 or whatever it was on Connor. But I mean, between Connor and Pollard and Henderson and Brown, I mean, those are 4 easy ones, and you're getting a nice price. I mean, if it's me making the ticket, I'd stick with those 4. You want to throw on Jones, that's fine. You want to throw on Jackson, all right? Those. Oh, and I didn't even mention Kamara. So I mean, if I'm taking 5 guys, to me that's I'm someone who likes to to know what I'm rooting for. In other words, I only have 1 fantasy football team and not 2 because I want to focus on a collection of 8 guys. And something like this, I'd much rather play a smaller number, knowing that I'm getting a smaller payout at the end. But at least I know who I'm rooting for, And so I say, give me Kamara, give me Henderson, give me Connor, give me Pollard, and give me Brown.
And get rid of Aaron Jones and Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
All right.
Those are the 5 I'm talking about, right? Kamara, Connor, Pollard, Brown, Henderson.
So we'll put this ticket together.
Me,
Yep.
Yeah, that to me is again, it gives me. I know who I'm rooting for. When I'm watching a game, it's just, it's the Ravens are playing somebody, and I'm thinking, boy, did I have Jackson on that ticket or not have him on that ticket? Oh, it's I know I had like 9 guys, and I think so. Like, you don't even know what you're rooting for,
right?
Right. And so keep it to these 5, and and then you when you scream at the screen, what you have an intention. That you give the ball to Chase. Stop throwing the ball to your terrible tight ends down here at the goal line. And anyway, that's those are my 5 there.
All right, simple enough. I got a picture of it. I'm going to put it in. I'll put it in for $50. We'll split it if it hits, and $600 will come your way if these guys hit 6. So $50 pays off $1,200 on Kamara, Henderson, Pollard, Brown, and Connor. I'll throw the other 2 guys in for greediness for myself. And I'll just tip you out if it is. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do the receivers for 6, and we'll call it a day. Sound good?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
So clear these guys out. That's not bad, though. For a season-long bet, to have some skin in the game, 5 guys, $50 to win $1,200. That's fun, right?
Yes, exactly, and it's reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very easy thing to root for, as opposed to, say, I got 5 guys for 1,000 yards for the season. Well, I don't even know how many. 6 weeks into it, I don't even know how many yards my guy has.
Right.
You know, yeah, I know he had a couple of bad games. Are we out of it already? This is, I mean, my favorite kind of math is when you can do it on one hand.
Right.
Fortunately, I have 6 fingers on my right hand, so 6 touchdowns. I can count. I can count that for 5 guys. Even me can. At my advanced age, I still can count like that.
When
So,
it's week
yeah,
5, when it's week 5, and you have Kamara for 4 touchdowns and Henderson for 4 touchdowns and a couple of the guys for 3, you can say, "Look, I'm cooking on this one." Easy
Well,
enough.
not only that, I thought you were going to say when it's week 7 and Kamara's already got his 6.
Yeah, locked
Right,
in. Yep.
and Connor's already got his 6.
Yeah,
Well, I don't even need to root for them anymore.
right.
They're in the book. I'm now down to 3 guys, and so I can focus my attention, push them across the goal line. A couple of times in week 7, and then I guess my biggest problem here is all right. Once this ticket cashes in week 13. Well, then, can I immediately reinvest, or do I got to wait till the end of the season?
Usually they give you the green check mark and pay you as soon as they get it. Yep.
Okay. Well.
Yep. That's the
hear.
one thing
Sure.
I like about, so over-unders can be voided in baseball, correct? If you take alternate team totals in baseball, and I'm going to sidetrack again on another subject real quick, having to do with referees here. If I have, say, the Angels, I had a couple tickets this week, the same ticket won back to back, and I dumped it down late night. I just needed the old lowly Angels to get 2.5 runs in their game, and the Padres to get 2.5 runs in their game against Seattle. Now, the Angels were at Texas, and I needed a Joe Adell miracle, basically, as I scored 3 runs in the 9th inning with a Zach Neto home run, and then Joe Adell happened to crank it out of the ballpark after Trout got a single. So we had to win that one in dramatic fashion. But as soon as that number hits, with the Padres getting their 2.5 runs in the 2nd inning, the cash out was there by the 3rd inning. So we don't have to wait for the end of the game. On a side note, it's taken me all of one college football quarter to realize that, we do so much more complaining about these referees in football than we do about the umpires in baseball, just overall. At the end of the day, you just really don't cry about the umpires screwing you over. Now, they did screw me over on one replay down in Houston where my guy was clearly safe at home, and they called him out. I forget which game it was 2 months ago. But you just get that kind of thing a lot more often in football than you do in baseball.
Oh, absolutely. And again, we don't need to digress here, but the difference between the officiating in the NBA and the WNBA is incredible. The WNBA officials, oh my goodness, they're terrible. Oh, and every game the players are complaining. And the coaches are complaining, and it's not just about ticky-tack things. It's like you're kidding, right? You really saw that ball go off the my team. I didn't even have a player there. You saw that ball go off my team, and I just I can just imagine being a referee and recognizing there was a call in baseball the other night on a pitch that, I know what happened. It was in the Cubs-Giants game. So the Cubs have a guy on first, and there's one out, and they got a left-handed hitter up them. I'm not sure which one it was. Full count, and here's the pitch. The runners, full count? No, it wasn't full count. Sorry. Yes, it was. I'm sorry. It was a full count, and the runner's going, right? And the pitch is so far outside that I thought it was a pitch out. And the catcher jumps up out of his stance way before the ball gets there. And he catches this pitch a foot or more outside. And he, as he's throwing to second, you see the umpire behind the plate raising his right hand. It's like he did not just call that a strike, you know. And then they throw to second, and they get the double play instead of having 2 on and 1 out. The inning's over, and the batter's like, you're kidding, right? That was they threw a pitch out. How did you couldn't have called that possibly called that a strike? And it was one of those things where the umpire, and clearly he was distracted by the catcher jumping up, you know, in his view or whatever. But it was like, I'm thinking that, man, if I were the umpire right now, you have to realize that you totally screwed up, right? But what do you do about it? You know, you can't say, I'm sorry. You can't say, you know what, let's go check the replay. You can't even say, yeah, you know what, I'll make it up to you next time. I mean, what do you say? You kind of got to, you know, stick by your guns and say, yeah, I saw that as a strike. You could not possibly have seen that as a strike. Anyway, enough of that. We're on to, let's get back to football.
All right, 6 touchdown receivers. We'll start at the bottom, work our way up. Your boy Tyler Warren, 2-1.
Well, I mean, I think he's going to get there, but you know, there'll be better plays.
Better efficiency. Okay. Jalen Waddle plus 150.
Probably, but I'll pass on that as well.
Travis Hunter plus 155.
He's an interesting guy this year. I mean, I have no idea what to expect out of him. I do know I've said this, week after week, that I think Jacksonville is going to be a much improved offensive team. If they are, he's going to be a part of it. But I just don't know how good this guy is. So, again, I would guess yes, but I'm going to wait for the more obvious one.
Zay Flowers plus 120.
A pass.
Garrett Wilson plus 120.
You would think so.
Right.
They don't really have any other receiving
Yeah, he
weapons.
would be the one, right?
So let's put him on the bottom of my list here for now.
Cooper Kupp plus 110.
He's an interesting guy too. I really expect him to have a real nice season. I kind of write off what happened last year as you got 2 guys who basically run the same patterns, and that takes away from one of them. I mean, you don't need 2. If you're going to throw the ball short 5 yards at a time, well, Nakua gets open every time. Let's just throw it to him, and not even worry that Kupp is equally open on the other side. I think that he goes into a way better situation now with his complementary receiver, Najiba, is a downfield guy. So now you've got the perfect complement of the short guy and the long guy. Well, in that case, the short guy, A, catches a lot more passes, and B, usually catches a lot more touchdowns. So I'm going to guess he's going to go over there, but, we'll have better guys.
He scored week 1 last year, I think, to win us a ticket. I know he scored week 1.
Well, I think week 1 last year, if I'm not mistaken, he was like the highest scoring fantasy receiver. He caught 15 passes in week 1 last year.
I remember we celebrated when he scored. Brock Bowers plus 110.
Easily.
I actually like this next one too. I don't know how he hasn't scored, but McBride plus 115.
You would think so. The key there is Harrison. What kind of season is he going to have this year? And is he going to be the superstar type receiver that he was drafted to be? Last year was very disappointing, in my opinion. And the more balls that go to Harrison, the fewer they're going to go to McBride. But McBride still, I mean, he ranks right up there with Bowers in terms of, man, they just keep throwing the ball to this guy. So, yes, so I'm going to put him on there with Bowers as well.
Okay. Diggs plus 115.
No.
McMillan, the new receiver for Carolina.
Well,
I don't even know how you say his first name, to be honest.
You're right. I don't even,
Roa.
I don't. I just don't trust Carolina.
Yeah,
I think this guy might be the best rookie receiver out there. He could be this year's Brian Thomas, who kind of came out of nowhere last year on a nobody team, and by the end of the season was one of the top receivers in the whole game. And this year, everybody's drafted him in fantasy. Consistent with that, I think this guy is a similar type of skill. I would think he's going to get there, but I just can't. No, not Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. Kelsey plus 105.
I think they got more receiving weapons this year. I'm going to say no.
And he's bound to get hurt, too, at some point. He's just getting older. Dunze, even money.
No. Too many weapons there.
Your boy Jameson Williams, minus 120.
Boy, you would think so. To me, he's as good a breakout candidate this year as anybody in the league. He's just been, he's kind of this year what Gibbs was last year, which is this incredible weapon that's waiting to be used more. And Gibbs, exploded onto the scene last year, and now I just think it's Williams' turn. They don't have. I talked about Seattle. Excuse me. Seattle having that perfect complement of a deep threat and a short threat. Detroit's got that with St. Brown. You've got to, they're going to throw the ball in the majority of the time. You move your safety up a little. Next thing you know, you've got this deep threat running behind you, and you can't catch him. I'm gonna put him on the list, low on the list. We may have to replace him later on, but let's put him on there for now.
All right, he's on there for now, and let's see here. Now we're getting to the minus 125s and minus 165s. I'll say this:
I can go that range, but then no higher.
DJ Moore minus 170. I'll cap at your ceiling because I know you really like him. You want to throw him on here?
I do, but again,
okay.
There's too many weapons there going in. I need to see a game. I need to see that first game. I mean, if DJ Moore in the first game is the guy who catches 8 passes, and now I'm going to feel a whole lot better about him having the type of season that I think he's going to have. But I wouldn't be shocked that first game he catches 3 balls, and it's the other guys who are catching the ball more often. And, oh, boy, I was wrong about him. So I'll pass on him, even though I do like him.
Okay. And now Jameson Williams is the guy on the bubble here. Let's see. I'll just kind of go through the list, and you'll give me maybe the 1 or 2 you would take. So we have Pickens. He's all minus 125 to 165.
I mean, he's got to make it.
George Pickens. Okay.
I think he's going to have a really good season. He's in a great situation where a bad team, going to fall behind a lot. Not the number one weapon that's going to see all the coverage. It doesn't really have a running game. Got a serviceable quarterback. Everything says, cheap touchdowns galore for this guy. And so, he's way up there on the list.
All right. So if we keep it right here, we're at 39 to 1. The $25 pays $9.75.
So with Bowers and McBride and Williams and
Garrett Wilson
Pickens
and
Garrett Wilson. And so those 5. Okay, let's do it.
All right, stick it there. Then I'll just mention the other guys just in case you have a last-second thought and want to bump Williams. All right. So we have Ridley, Devontae Smith, Jackson Smith, Kittle, Andrews, Nakua, McConkey.
Well, man, given their receiver issues, you would think Kittle's going to make it. I mean, going into the season, they don't have Ayuk. They're not going to have Jennings, he doesn't even want to be there, and supposedly he's injured. I mean,
like
they
Kittle.
basically
I
got
like
one.
Kittle.
Yeah, they got one receiving target, and that's the rookie last year that got shot. So they kind of lost half of that season, not where they would have liked him to be. Man, they were scouring the waiver wire this week looking for any scraps, and they picked up Valdez Scantling, crying out loud.
Right.
I just think Kittle and
Yeah.
McCaffrey are two guys who are going to be have to be the focal point of their offense. And as I've mentioned before, you don't get an easier schedule than what the 49ers have. I mean, they might not be any good this year, but they've got to be able to put up points when you're playing the AFC South and NFC South, half your schedule. So he's definitely, I definitely put him on the list. And let's take Wilson off.
Take
Or
Garrett.
unless you want to make it. I want to keep it to 5.
All right.
Wilson's out, Kittle's in. So give me the 3 tight ends and Williams and Pickens.
Okay. 25 pays 818. So I'll put these tickets in. I'll send them to you sometime during the week here. And that way you can keep track. We'll see how we do. So
All right.
6 touchdown scores with Bowers, McBride, Jameson Williams, George Pickens, and George Kittle. And I hate doing the Super Bowl predictions right off the bat. It's injuries. Who knows? But just for the sake of the fact that everyone does it anyway, I'm not looking for a Super Bowl champion, but give me a powerhouse matchup, and then give me a long shot matchup of long shots. If you want to think about it for half a second, I'll go first. I mean, eventually Lamar Jackson's going to make one of these Super Bowls, right? So why not Philly and the Ravens, which is 20-1? That'd be my powerhouse matchup. Only because I think at the end of the day, you see teams like Detroit get to that last step and not be able to get through the door. Buffalo able to take that last step and not get through the door. Baltimore, I mean, gosh, they're the perennial not being able to get through the door type of team. But you just figure Lamar is going to get at least one Super Bowl. So at some point. So maybe it's this year against the Eagles, 20-1. And if I have to give you a long shot kind of one, I'll look at something like Tampa Bay. I'll throw them on that ticket. And we'll look at someone somewhat of an underdogish in the AFC. I don't think their line's going to be good at the end of the day. I do like their defense, though. So I'm wondering if we just underrate the Texans a little bit. I know you like Jacksonville. Maybe I want to do something more fun. Maybe Miami will just be better than advertised, right? Battle of Miami and Tampa. Go ahead and give me Tampa. And I'm trying to find the bulk of the Tampa plays here. Go ahead and give me someone like Tampa and shoot. I'll just say Houston. I think that's long shot enough. What do you got?
Well, to me, I think Tampa's got a really good shot. And if you're going to consider them a long shot, then I'll save them as my long shot.
Odds-wise, they are technically.
Yeah, so I'll save them as my long shot pick, and I'll go with Detroit as the team that's going to win. I think that losing their coordinators is vastly overrated, and they've still got all of their weapons on offense.
Right,
I said before, it's a miracle that they won as many games as they did last year with all the injuries they had on defense and key players, as well. I just think that there's so much talk about Minnesota and Green Bay, especially Green Bay now that they've added the new defensive weapon, about how tough that division is. Even Chicago's gotten better. But you throw all that out the window come playoff time. It doesn't matter how tough your division was. As long as you get into the playoffs, that's fine. And I just think Detroit, was the best team last year until the injuries came in. And I just think I don't see any reason. Don't tell me that the coordinators are going to make that big a difference there. And so I go with Detroit as my, my heavyweight pick there, and I go with Tampa Bay as my surprise pick there. In the AFC, I think that, well, I don't know if they'd be considered a long shot pick, but I take the Chargers there.
Oh, what time did
give
you
them a
leave?
shot, to get in. I just don't see, the obvious suspects. Buffalo is a lock to win their division.
We got up there
they're
at
going
like
to be there.
5:45.
And Baltimore's a lock to get into the playoffs. I would throw out the South. I don't think Kansas City's going to do it again. So if you're talking about Buffalo and Baltimore as being the top two teams in the AFC, I think the Chargers can sneak in there. I trust Harbaugh. He improves from year to year. Last year they did incredibly well. And if they're improving off of that, then they're going to be there against one of those two teams, maybe even both of them come playoff time. So give me the Chargers as my quote-unquote long shot, and I got to go with Buffalo as my heavyweight choice there, just based on the fact that there's no resistance in the AFC East. They're going to be there. They're going to win 13, maybe 14 games. So they might have home field advantage throughout the playoffs and in January in Buffalo. That's going to be tough to go in there and win, especially if Kansas City isn't the team that's going to do it. There's just no indication that a Baltimore or lesser team can go in there and win that kind of game. So give me Detroit and Buffalo as my gutless selection, give me Tampa Bay and the Chargers as my long shots.
Tampa Bay and the Chargers 155-1 for exact matchup. That's not bad.
Yeah, no kidding. That's very attractive.
Houston and Tampa Bay is 125-1. Still not bad. Let's see.
Well, the good thing about Houston is
easy schedule, easy division.
Well, right, they're going to make the playoffs.
Right.
You can't. You can't pick anybody else in that division. The Colts, are the clear-cut number 2 team. I mean, certainly not going to pick Tennessee, and you're not going to pick Jacksonville, even if they improve, to possibly win that division. And if the Colts are your chief competition, they're, the quarterback thing has failed there. I don't know. I mean, the Colts, I think, could be a 500 team, but I think Houston is going to win 10 games. If you win 10 games, you're going to win that division. So they're going to get into the playoffs. They do have some playoff experience. They won't be an easy team to knock out. But I just think the Chargers are, a more solid team than all the way around that Houston is.
Detroit and Buffalo is 29-1. That's not bad, actually. And then,
like I said, Detroit. People are underestimating Detroit.
I don't. I definitely don't.
Right.
Don't put me on that record.
They were the best team. I mean, you don't see teams in the NFL steamrolling opponents like Detroit's offense did last year.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't happen,
yes.
right? And now, you think, well, gee, if they had a defense, they'd be a powerhouse. Well, they don't judge them on last year. Look at 2 years ago, the Detroit defense. Now, I don't have the numbers, so I don't even know where they ranked defensively 2 years ago. But that's what you need to base them on. If they play to that level, which I'd be more confident that they would than to play at last year's level when they had everybody injured. If they play to the level of their defense 2 years ago, and now couple that with this incredible offense, I think that, you look at them and say, yeah, you know what, you're right. That's certainly a team that ranks right up there with the Eagles in terms of, the possible Super Bowl team. So to me, I'm going to have to see it to believe it that they don't eventually win a very, very tough division.
Buffalo and Tampa, just so we know, is 54-1. It was Buffalo and Tampa. And then, let's see, Detroit and the Chargers would be, if we do a little mix and match, 76-1. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to pick in the AFC. I think is easier to pick because like I said, to me, the AFC comes down if you throw out Kansas City, which is a dumb thing to do. But if you throw them out, you know what, they don't have it anymore. And you come down to, Buffalo and Baltimore as the obvious two teams left standing. Who's next? The Chargers, Denver, Houston. I wouldn't even throw a second team in there from the East. And I wouldn't, Cincinnati, I guess you would say, you know what, I don't know. But there just isn't a strong, up and coming or whatever, a second tier of teams there. I think it's coming down to Buffalo and Baltimore. But in the NFC, man, you could name, 6 or 7 teams that are better than that second tier in the AFC. Heck, you'd even throw the Rams in there as a pretty good team. But, you definitely throw Minnesota and Green Bay and maybe even Washington into that group. And Tampa Bay, you mentioned Detroit. There's a ton of teams in the NFC that could make it, that could surprise Philadelphia. Man, the first round playoff matchup, is going to be, getting into the playoffs in the NFC is just one of your problems because you get even in the first round, bang, you show up for the first round and we're playing at Green Bay, we drew the weaker of the division winners. We drew the Rams or we drew Tampa. Well, that's no prize. So it's, I can see where you're getting good odds on a lot of these matchups because it's kind of wide open, especially in the NFC.
All right, Dave. More gambling next week. We'll talk to you then.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Fantasy draft time.
Yes, sir. Now, nephew Dave is back in the studio with us.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Happy Labor Day weekend.
Happy Labor Day weekend. The last day of August, Dave, and a full college weekend. Couple games today on this Sunday and Monday night. And it's just good to have football back on for the last 3 days, right?
Yes, it is.
Did you watch a bunch of the games? Or
I did. I watched quite a few yesterday.
What are your main takes, maybe, if anything? I don't think we saw anything too crazy, but it was just generally just good to have games going on for the most part.
Yeah, more or less, some matchups that we were treated some good matchups. And then, the usual week one matchups where teams are favored by, 20, 30, 40 points. So some teams did, what we expected them to do. Watch the Oklahoma game. They play, Illinois State.
Yeah, how'd they do? That's one game I really didn't put my finger on.
They did well. Quarterback played really well. Transfer from Washington State. So I think things are going to be good there. They need to work, looks like, on the running game a little bit. That didn't.
They covered the spread?
No, I think the spread was 35, and they won 35-3.
Right.
So big margin of victory, no cover on the spread. Imagine that.
But you didn't bet on that, did you?
No. Actually, I took the under in that because it was up in the high 50s. I think even it was like a 59 or something. And my thought there, Illinois State probably not going to score many. They get a field goal. So the under does come in that play.
There's a good this is the showstopper play, and I've done this play in college football beforehand. But you will have games, and there are a bunch of them yesterday, 4 or 5 or 6 of them, and I know there are at least 4 or 5 in the late window. And I played 3 of them, and I actually hit one of them, And it was weird because my odds were really inflated to the good. Like, so I don't know if this play threw my calculator out of whack or not, but it was basically the teams all getting like 44, 45 points, right? And then the over-under is sitting there like at 57 or whatever the case may be. So if you just do the math yourself, if the underdog who is plus 44 scores 7 points, that means the favorite, in order to beat the underdog, needs to score 52 or whatever. So if that's the case, 52-7 now goes over that total. So the play is to play the dog plus all the big points and play the over, knowing that there's just that small window in which you lose both bets. And most of the time, if not a double winner, then it's a split and a chop of the money. But you play that, you carpet bomb it across the board, and you'll end up making a profit at the end of the day because you'll get more of the double covers than you'll get the chops, and very low percentage of both of the sides that lose. So I actually think both the sides did lose on one of them last night. But I know that and a normal parlay is like 13-5 odds. If you're lucky, 2.5-1 odds. So basically, if you put down $10, the way I used to pay out at 13-5, if you put down $25, then you'd win 65. If you put down $50, you'd win 130. Some are 2.5-1 odds. So if you put down $25, you win 62.50. So small percentage of a difference. But when I went ahead and I was parlaying, so I went ahead and did that theory I just told you, 3 big dogs, 3 overs, and I made 1 6-game parlay, and that should pay like 40-1. And this thing was paying like $15 to win like 3,000.
Wow.
I'm like, what? I was like, this isn't right. And then if you did $10 on the same game parlay, just decide on the total for the one game, which should be 2.5-1 or 13-5, it was paying over 5-1 odds.
Wow.
So I'm not sure what was up with that. That was kind of weird. I was wondering if I was going to win, they'd come back and take some of that money back or whatever, because the odds were kind of calculating weird. Maybe that was a week 1 flaw. I just feel like the odds were paying out way more than what they should have. So that was interesting.
Yes, indeed.
All right, we got NFL games, and usually what we'll do after Del Grande is we will do Survivor, and we can actually discuss these 2 games for Survivor, or we wait till Sunday. But Dave, there is a world for me in which I take the Eagles for Survivor pool this week over Dallas, to be honest. Maybe I don't want to use the Eagles right out of the gate. I keep them as a good team in my back pocket. But if you're looking for a good way to advance in week 1 and have a team that's somewhat easy, and a lot of people don't do the Thursday night Survivor game, right? Just out of a rule of thumb.
Right.
I think that the Eagles are an easy way to advance through Survivor this week. So your thoughts on that, first of all, are the Eagles worth a Survivor pick?
I mean, absolutely here in this matchup. But again, you know, you touched on it with the Eagles kind of being a team I think that you're going to want to keep in your back pocket. So if you just can't wait and you want to go ahead and advance quickly, I think you can definitely use the Eagles here, Steve. But again, I think that I would wait until the Sunday matchup. I wouldn't even play the Friday matchup either. I would definitely wait till Sunday, Steve. I think there's some better teams that you can use earlier instead of having to maybe sweat them, whereas you took the Eagles and now you're, you know, looking at a lower tier team where you have to pick if you make it towards the middle of your Survivor pool. When maybe you could have had somebody like Philly in there. So absolutely, Steve, if you want to go ahead and fire off in advance, I would definitely take Philly. But I would definitely advise to have a little patience here and wait till Sunday.
Now, some teams will. Let's see here. Sorry, Dave.
No, you're good.
The odds here. Yeah, some pools will allow a buyback in. So that's kind of the important thing. Are you in a survivor pool where if you lose that pick on Thursday, then you're done for the season and then you don't even get to Sunday? Or could you buy back in at that point? So I think maybe even if you're, and I know the CP's pool isn't a buyback in. So
right,
if you're taking the Eagles and that's it, you're done. If they don't get by it. And same like in the FanDuel one, I think you'll have to start into the new pool or whatever the case may be, right? So it depends on that. So check your rules with your survivor owner. If I lose, can I buy back in? Because what that really does is it juices up the pot. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. So it's almost a risk-free type of dealio in that regard, if you look at it that way. So the line is 7.5, 47.5. And if I have a best play in this game myself, and I said this with Del Grande, it's go ahead and give me the Eagles team points over for them. I'm pretty sure they score theirs and get theirs at least. I don't know if Dallas gets theirs points to get to the full total here. I could see a scenario where Dallas gets completely thumped. I think this is more of a game like 41-20, to be honest. I think Dallas can probably get a couple scores, knocking a couple field goals because the kicker is so good too. But at the end of the day, where you're raising the banner up on a Thursday night game, everyone's amped up to start the season. You're the Super Bowl champs. Dallas, you can't say that they're in disarray, but I don't think the off-field drama helps in any way. And, a lot of guys looking around, and there's no more Parsons. He's gone. So here comes Saquon Barkley. Here comes Jalen Hurts. Here comes A.J. Brown. Here comes Devontae Smith, etc. You get the gist of it. I think your guy, Jahan Dotson, all right, is going to be trending upwards as well. I think we see more than the usual suspects get involved with Philly, and that was the one good thing when you bet him is you just knew it was Barkley or Hurts to get into the end zone.
Right.
I think he'll still get a lot of that. But I don't think the Eagles are taking a step back. I heard someone say that the Eagles would be 9-8 in the regular season.
I don't know. I agree with that.
They have a hard schedule. And let's just look at it real quick. Because even in the hard schedule, when the Patriots won their Super Bowls and they were playing all the hard teams, it didn't matter. Now you like to keep that standard of just being good. Let's see. They got the Cowboys first, and then they're at the Chiefs in week 2. How about that? Home against the Rams, at Tampa Bay, home against the Broncos, at the Giants, at the Vikings, home against the Giants, at the Packers, home against the Lions, at the Cowboys, home against the Bears, at the Chargers. I mean, that is as hard as it gets. At the Eagles, at the Commanders, at the Bills. That being said, they're going to win a bunch of those games,
right,
against all those good teams. They just are. And man, that's interesting. They get the Chiefs week 2 as well. This is a much harder schedule than I thought. But well, they're not going to lose but so many games, and Dallas ain't going to be one of them, Dave. So any which way you can, I think with the Eagles, mainly probably. But the safest bet for me is going to be over their team points and their alternate total. I would jack up to, I think they're good for 35. So I'll get plus 285 at over 34.5. I actually had that bet with Cincinnati and Miami in a 3-game parlay. So if Cincinnati, Miami, and Philadelphia all get to 35, then we were rolling deep for week 1 already. I have all these three teams for over 30.5 points as well. So if they all get to 31, we're going to be rolling deep. So we will see if we're still alive on Sunday. But go ahead and I'll probably do one with the Phillies and with the Philly and the Patriots as well. And I'll thumb down Philly in a couple spots, like, over 32.5 plus 190. Sounds good, just in case, they get 3 touchdowns and 4 field goals. You'll get 33 points and still get that at 2-1 odds. I'll tinker around with it. And in fact, I might even take it up to 40 points, where you get plus 630 for over 39.5. Because in the world of which I see NFL football, I say it's a 50-50 shot that they get to 40 points, Dave, to me. So best play for me over the Philly total team points, and we'll climb the ladder with that. So what are your first thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Steve. So with that schedule that you mentioned too, you got to think coming out of the gate here, this is going to be an important divisional win for them. So they'll want to start out strong in case, they do falter somewhere within those first couple games in that tough schedule. So I definitely like Philly to pull this one out. Somewhat comfortable fashion, I believe. Steve, I wouldn't be afraid. My first original thought, and what I probably will do, to get a smaller plus number just to kind of start something off, would be Philly at minus 9.5. I would move it 2 points from where it is now, and just kind of let that ride. I feel comfortable that they can beat Dallas by 10 or more points. So an important start for the Eagles out of the gate, Steve, with that strong schedule. They'll come away victorious Thursday night.
Yeah, and that's a simple way to look at it. Just get me to, 10 points. I get slightly plus juice back, and, that's going to beef up my parlay down the road for the rest of the weekend. Touchdown scorers, Dave. Let's take a look at this for this game. Barkley is at minus 210, plus 370 for the first. I think he's a great first touchdown candidate, to be honest. At plus 370, I don't think $100 on that's the worst thing in the world. I just feel like that's the first touchdown.
Oh,
Barkley,
yeah, plus 450 over here.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is minus 165. CD Lamb plus 145. AJ Brown plus 160. Devontae Smith plus 190. Javonte Williams plus 210. Pickens plus 230. Dallas Goedert plus 290. Jake Ferguson 3-1. Jaden Blue is going to be a new name. We'll have to pay attention to that. 4-1 for the Cowboys. Miles Sanders 4-1 for the Cowboys. Let's see. Philly defense 5-1. Jalen Tolbert, interesting, 5-1 for the Cowboys. Kevontae Turpin 6-1. These are two guys I think are going to have value in easier of the Cowboy games. Not necessarily this game. Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon. Now, if the Eagles get up to a big lead, then Shipley and Dillon come very live. Both of those guys are 7-1 for a touchdown. If Barkley gets to the bench, because they're going to not wear him out. In the
Right.
They'll have to wear him out week 1, as Dave Del Grande says they won't. And you're going to get a dose of Shipley and Dillon. Dak Prescott 8-1. Jahan Dotson 8-1 is a good play, I think. Dave, if there's going to be plenty of Eagle points, I think Dotson, because apparently he worked with everyone in the offseason there. They were throwing balls to each other, Hurts and him. So if they're a little bit better on the same page, 8-1 is going to wreak value to me. And there's Mechie, for the old Texan, for the Eagles at 8-1. The Dallas defense plus 850. There's Grant Calcaterra. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Plus 950. Loon Schoonmaker. Remember him? 10-1. And then we got some random guys. These must be all backup tight ends. Hunter Lupke for Dallas, 20-1. Interesting. We need to do a little investigating on this.
Yeah, we do.
Kylan Granson for the Eagles, 22-1. Ben Van Summeren, 33-1.
I don't even have that name on my list. That's funny.
Hunter Lupke in the Kylan Granson parlay, $2 pays $741. How about that, Dave?
All right.
Anytime touchdown scores for you? Who are you looking at, maybe?
Yeah, so if we're going to go for value here, I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert. You have a much better number at plus 290. I have plus 255. But, Steve, can you just see a scenario where you see his name flashing at the bottom of the screen? He, catches a nice little 10-yard touchdown. They're in the red zone.
They might want to get everybody involved if they're having fun out there.
Right.
So, yep.
And why not Dallas Goedert?
Right.
I mean, he's proven for them. That's the maybe a little bit of a safety blanket there. You have a good tight end in him. Why not get him a touchdown? And if you're going to start some things off, I think that's a good number with a good player, Steve.
If you take Goddard and Dotson, Dave, you're getting 35-1.
Oh, I like that.
So $10 can win you $350 on just two guys to score
All
for
right.
the Phillies. So we're going to have to play that, I think, together. And then let's look at the two touchdown scorers. And Dotson's 80-1 on that. I did see that already. So that's going to be worth a shot for me. Knowing that Philly is just going to score a lot of points. In fact, he's 100-1 right now. I do have a risk-free token, so $100 to win 10,000 might be the play. On a two touchdown score for Jahan Dotson. Dak Prescott is 125-1 for two touchdowns. The Dallas defense 125-1. Kevontae Turpin 100-1. Mechie is 100-1. Will Shipley 100-1. Wow. Could you see a scenario where he counterfeits Barkley a couple times? Dylan is 100-1. Just that first week curveball of like not playing Barkley as many reps.
Right.
Jalen Tolbert 60-1. Jaden Blue 45-1. Miles Sanders 45-1. 60-1 for Philly. Defense 30-1 for Ferguson. 27-1 for Goddard. Two touchdowns for George Pickens. 20-1. So Pickens still paying good after his leave. Pickens is a long time two touchdown play by me with you knew he was going to get it sooner or later,
Right.
and he did, but it took him a while. AJ Brown 12-1. Devontae Smith 15-1 is another guy who's very juicy for the two touchdowns. He just seemed to be trending up towards the end of the last season. Javonte Williams 17-1 for Dallas. CD Lamb is 12-1. Hurts plus 370. Barkley, a meager plus 280. For three touchdowns, I got Barkley 13-1. Hurts 19-1. Lamb 75-1. Everyone else is 100-1 or more for that. All right, Dave, you need 1 2 touchdown score, long shot.
Yeah.
And a short shot. What do you got?
All right, short shot. We'll start with that, Steve. Let's go the short shot. Let's make it a little bit more interesting and go AJ Brown at 10-1. So we at least get a decent number out of that. That seems very doable for him. And Steve, let's go with a long shot of Dak Prescott. What if that running game doesn't get going? They have a couple opportunities in the red zone, and Dak just kind of has to take things into his own hands to get something going here. You have the better number, but still at 110-1, you could play that by yourself. You could play Dak for 2 and somebody, pretty obvious for 1 on Sunday or something, and really get a nice payout. Is he going to do it? Probably not. But again, Steve, there is that scenario where he has to get something going and take charge. So 110-1 long shot. Dak Prescott.
I like that theory, Dave. Having to scramble, maybe playing fast, playing from behind, trying to move the ball down the field, throw in. They're at the 5-yard line and everyone's covered. Oh, let me just walk it in.
Right.
Let me just walk it in for 125-1 for a payout. So I like that angle. 4 touchdowns for Barkley is 65-1. I don't think they wear him out.
No, not at all.
But we can play Barkley for 4 touchdowns in October or November. We'll pay attention to that down the road.
Yeah.
And which his odds
yes.
will only get better for that, probably, for us. All right, let's take a look at some other alternate numbers here. Alternate rushing yards. Do we get the backup running backs here? Let's see. I'll tell you one I do like, Dave.
All right.
And it's not the rushing, but it's going to be the receiving yards. And I told Del Grandy this, but one big-time losing bet last year was Barkley receiving yards. You know how we like the running back receive yards. Barkley just never got the job done because he didn't get the opportunity. His over-under is at 13.5. At 15 or more yards, he's minus 102, so just about even. And for 25 yards or more, he's plus 225. If Barkley is a little bit of an older age and they're not trying to get him to wear down as much, like Dave Dolgrandy's theory a little bit, trying to see something unexpected as Barkley maybe reduces his reps just a little bit. Maybe they find comfort in having him catch the ball out in the flats a little more than just running into bodies, right?
Right.
So let's get this guy back involved in the passing game. We did see it in the Super Bowl where he went over his receive yards. I got burned on his receive yards many a times. I'm like, why are they just passing the ball? Well, they don't have to. They can just run the ball. I could see the passing coming back to this. So I'm going to bury the number with Barkley on his receiving yards. I'll take plus 225, and I'll find him with some other receivers. But that's a prop I can get behind myself with him. Thoughts there, just real quick?
Yeah, Steve.
Agree?
I mean, I could see it if you take it to 25 plus 206 for me. And you got to think, I mean, that has the possibility just to be one catch. Last season's average of 17.6 per game. So it's doable, Steve. And with that number, I think it's worth a shot somewhere.
Let's see. Most rushing yards for the game. Barkley's minus 500. Javonte Williams 6-1. That's interesting. Javonte Williams at 6-1. It might not be worth a bad play for Dallas, to be honest. Let's see. We also have, Dave, alternate receiving yards for the first quarter. How about that?
Ooh.
And Barkley, and we'll get to the regular receiving props, but I talked to Del Grandy about this too. And let's see here. Receiving props. Yeah, here we go. And more things are popping on the board left and right here. But let's see. Over 1 yard or more is plus 142 for Barkley.
Really?
Yep. For the first quarter. And then his alternate number, 5 yards is plus 210. 10 yards is plus 410. 15 yards plus 750. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like our running back receive yards were always more in the first half. Oh, guys, we only need like 8 yards in the second half, and then we never get it.
Never get it. Yep.
Absolutely. So we always get it more in the first half. Why not try some of these first quarter numbers? A 10-yard reception. And when you do get spelled in relief, it's in the second quarter, right?
Right.
So you'll play the whole quarter. Maybe you get 2 possessions, and that gives you a chance to get 10 yards. That's one catch.
That's
Plus
one.
14.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's some good instant satisfaction stuff. We're going to look at that. So we'll play Barkley in his first quarter receive yards as well. The baseline yards for everybody else. CeeDee Lamb, 73.5. A.J. Brown, 71.5. 55.5 for Pickens. 54.5 for Devontae Smith. Goddard, 37.5. Ferguson, 35.5. Javonte Williams, 11.5. And Jahan Dotson, just 6.5, Dave. I mean, we got to take that too, right?
Right. First quarter or
Does he have an
half?
alternate number? I don't see it on my list. Do you have an alternate Jahan Dotson receive number?
Let's see here. Receiving props. I should have it. Let's go down here. Alternates. They're going to put it way at the bottom, maybe. No, I guess I don't. That's weird.
I can get 13-1. He might come on the board later, closer to the game. I can get 15-1 on Barkley for 15 receive yards in the first quarter, and Dotson 6.5 for the game. So that's a decent way to juice up that Barkley prop, even though I feel like you deserve the win if you get that 15 yards in the first quarter. You shouldn't have to wait for Dotson to catch his ball. Let's see, most receiving yards. Any long shots on here? Dotson's 125-1 for most receiving yards in that game. Javonte Williams 150-1. Barkley is at 100-1. You don't think that's worth it in case he breaks a screen pass 80 yards?
Right.
Jake Ferguson 18-1. Dallas Goedert 13-1. Devontae Smith 5-1. George Pickens plus 410. AJ Brown plus 210. CD Lamb plus 195. I mean, give me a small shot on Barkley and Dotson.
Yeah, yep.
Maybe even Javonte Williams in case he can just kind of spring one. So I'll mark some of that down. Any receivers you like?
I'm going to have to wait for some more to pop on the board because I don't have those guys over here just yet. I do like, again, going back to the Dallas Goedert angle, his last season average was 50.8 a game. So you're getting plus 100 at 40 yards for him, 50 at plus 166. Go ahead and sign me up for that, Steve. 50 yards for Dallas Goedert. Definitely achievable.
Back to the rushing props. Let me see if I can get Dak on here yet. Well, he's at 7.5. So if he gets his 2 touchdowns, he'll get to 7.5, right?
You would think.
So you can do some kind of parlay too. If you want an El Cheapo parlay, Dak for 7.5 rushing, Jahan Dotson 6.5 receiving. That pays plus 225. You can throw Barkley on there, maybe for 25 yards receiving. Let's see, for the game.
I've got a play right here, Steve, that I like. Rush yards in the first quarter for Saquon.
Yeah.
25 plus is at plus 139 in the first quarter.
You can have that on the first.
I mean,
play.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, it's going to be a handoff first play of the game.
I mean, even if he goes 15, you're asking for 10 yards. If they have 2 possessions in the first quarter, I mean, you're telling me Saquon's not going to come away with 25 yards in the first quarter?
He's better off to get something like that too than I think he is 100 yards for the game, where he's sitting on 80 yards and the Eagles are up 24 points. And next thing you know, here's Shipley.
Exactly, and you know that's how it happens. So give me 25 of them in the first quarter for Barkley at a plus number.
Okay. And I'm trying to get this nice little easy parlay to pop up.
Man, I really like that. We're definitely going to have to take note of that.
All right, 15-1 odds. Prescott over 7.5 yards. Dotson over 6.5 yards. Barkley 10 yards receiving first quarter.
I like it. And see, right now I can't even go. His season average was 6.8. They're only letting me go to 15 and above, so I can't even start at that 6.5.
Interesting.
But he's plus 230 for 15 or more rushing yards.
Jalen Hurts to get even money for 40 yards is plus 108. I don't think I want any of that. Barkley is even money for 100 yards. Plus 550 for 150 yards. I think I'll just pass on all that together.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I mean, I think it's a route. Dave. So give me the Philly team points and give me some Barkley receive yards more than anything. I like your Dak Prescott 2-touchdown angle. I'll probably mess with Dotson just because he's paying so much as well. You can't resist it on a Thursday night. Best bet for you?
I best bet is I like the 9.5 number for the Eagles. And Steve, the more I look at it, the more I like the 25 yards in the first quarter for Saquon.
All right, Kansas City is -3. This is a neutral field in Brazil. 45.5 is the total here. Let's see. We last saw the Chargers. They were getting thrashed by the Texans in the second half. 6 Philip Rivers. 6 Justin Herbert's interceptions to go with it. And the Chiefs were bowed out in the Super Bowl getting thrashed. So both of these teams got their butts kicked the last time they were out. They've both taken the preseason pretty seriously for the most part. The Chiefs have played a lot. Played a lot of their guys, and they feel like they're playing with malicious intent to punish the rest of the NFL for their losses. But there's a new bully on the block out in the West with the Chargers. I don't like the fact that they lost their left tackle. That's going to be one kind of concern for me. Dave Delgranty said don't be surprised if they end up in the Super Bowl at the end of the day. And I wouldn't, not with that coach. He just seems to win wherever he goes. And they definitely seem to be tougher. So a physical game, I would like a bet on flags for this game because I think you could bet over flags. Watch this game Friday, and if it's flag, say, remember Steve said that. There's going to be a lot of flags in this game. So best bets for me in this game and what's going to happen is honestly, I don't know. There's a pass for the week. This is it. This is a fun game. This is one you watch. You have some fun with. Obviously, you have to have something to bet on to keep it interesting. But I'm not going to get overly invested. Not like I was in the Friday night game with the Eagles and the Packers, where there's a million fun receivers on the field to root for. In fact, that Friday game, I think I was one Dontavian Wicks catch away from like a big $3,000 payout. I just needed one more catch from him for like 8 yards or something like that, and we couldn't get it. But if I have a bet must-have play here, it's going to have to be in the props. I mean, this has every bit of 20-19 written all over it for me. 23-20, something like that. I think it probably goes under the total for some reason. Although it could end up higher scoring for sure. Who knows? There's plenty of talent out there still. But I think the physical tone of it just reeks of lower scoring to me. I will reserve judgment. Not my better play on the board. Not even a lean for me. But generally just a overall pass. I'll dissect the props here in a second and see what we can come up with because we got to come up with something to bet on. But your first thoughts overall about this, Dave? Yeah,
Steve, I have to agree with you here. This is kind of a game where, maybe the Chargers aren't going to get pushed around here. So, Steve, when we go through the props, obviously, like you said, we'll find something. But first glance at this game, let's go with something that maybe we know and maybe we're a little bit more comfortable with for a must-have bet in this game. And I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey anytime touchdown at plus 175. I would feel probably pretty comfortable with that. You could throw a lot of other guys in there maybe, but like I said, maybe Ladd McConkey just a little bit more familiar in a game where we're not sure what's going to happen. So give me a Ladd score, Steve.
You know what? I like that, Dave, at plus 175, to be honest. I got another one for you, too,
all right,
in that regard. So we'll take Ladd at plus 175. And why not just parlay him with Xavier Worthy at plus 130?
Absolutely. Why not?
Or whatever numbers you have. You have
135 for Worthy.
So you're getting better than me. So tell me this. What is your $10 payout parlay pay?
For those two?
Yeah.
All right. Let's add them.
Mine's just 4-1. It sounds like yours.
5-1.
Yeah, yours is gonna be better. 5-1.
Yep.
So shop around, and I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. If you're just stuck on the Worthy and Lad McConkey parlay, put your $50 on that for happy hour Friday and win $250, right?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Steve, if you didn't want to get too invested, throw 25 at it. If it hits, that's 150, and that's gas money or happy hour money, or
it's money for your rest of your NFL weekend.
Or right there pays for your weekend. So I mean, maybe that's the way to do it. Friday night, you just throw a little ticket out there of these two guys. That's not asking for a whole lot with these two guys on the respective teams. So I like it, Steve.
Dave, my strategy of many, many years too has been, let's not try to win it all in one shot. Although I've been trying to do that a little bit with baseball lately. And we've had some decent baseball bets. I could use another one for sure. Let's see. So you almost build the foundation and then you take the shots, right?
Right.
So this is building the foundation play with Worthy and McConkey, each for a touchdown. Let's see. Omarion Hampton's even money. He's the new running back for the Chargers. Najee Harris is even money. That's the thing. We don't know who's going to do what.
Right.
So when we talk about week one, what do we know? We want to bet on stuff that we do know. This is an unknown, so you can't bet on it.
Right.
Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. Next two favorites we just took with Worthy and McConkey. Then we have Kelsey. You got the better odds, Dave. Why don't you run down the list?
All right. Let's see. We got Harris at plus 160. Kelsey at plus 165. Pacheco's at plus 180. Marquise Brown at plus 210. There's Quentin Johnston plus 340. Kareem Hunt plus 370. Keenan Allen's going to be plus 310. He's back there with the Chargers. Tyler Conklin plus 425. Our guy Noah Gray, let's not forget about him at 4-1. Justin Herbert plus 550. He could probably use his legs a little bit. Maybe if you're getting a little frisky, throw him on at any time. Keandre Lambert-Smith, he's going to be at 5-1. Juju is at plus 450. Patrick Mahomes 5-1. The Chiefs defense at plus 475. There's Will Dissly at 6-1. Tyquan Thornton plus 550.
He's an interesting one too.
Yeah,
Pay attention for him.
The Chargers.
Now I got him at plus 950, but most of your numbers are better.
Yeah, and you might get the better ones as the list goes down.
The longer shots, I feel like that's the difference here.
Like, what is your Tucker Fisk number? I have 25.
Tucker Fisk.
We're talking long shot there.
Well, he's off the board here. Give me another one.
You have Jared Wiley. I don't know who that is. But
I do. 20-1.
I have it 19.
Okay.
Elijah Mitchell. He's at 9-1 on my board.
Elijah Mitchell. I don't see him. I have Hassan Haskins.
Yeah. 8-1.
All right, I got 10-1 there.
Yeah.
Nico Remigio. Do you have him?
I don't think I do, actually. Oh, yes. Way there at the bottom, 19-1.
All right, 20-1 here. Rondé Gadsden. God, he's been around for a while.
That one I don't think I have.
27-1 here. Okay. So, yeah, that varies for sure. Unstable waters are that anytime touchdown pool. You definitely need to look at both sites, people. I am not going to make $300 when I could have made $600. Trust me.
Right.
This year, I'm going to look at these anytime touchdowns, and I'm going to plug them into both the sites. And whatever's the better one, that's what we're going to go with. Okay.
I like it.
All right, 2 touchdowns. Oh, I got Omarion Hampton, 7-1. Najee, 7-1. Worthy, 10-1. Marquise Brown, 16-1. Kelsey, 12-1. McConkey, 11-1. Pacheco, 17-1. Now, that might be the one I would take for 2 touchdowns, to be honest.
I think, yeah.
Keenan Allen, 22-1. Quentin Johnston 22-1. Juju 45-1. Noah Gray 45-1. Actually, he might be the one I take for 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt's 35-1. He's the one who gets the goal line carries. At least he did last year. We'll see this year. Herbert 55-1. Disley is interesting. 65-1 for him for 2 touchdowns. Mahomes 80-1. The Chiefs defense 80-1. Trey Harris 80-1. Keandre Lambert Smith 80-1. Tyler Conklin 100-1 for the Chargers. Conklin, a good Jets tight end who was kind of emerging last year with Aaron Rodgers. Now he gets Justin Herbert. Does he get the ball a little bit more? Pay attention to that. Tyler Conklin 100-1. In fact, that might be worth a little something. And he likes Disley in front of him. But I'll tell you what, you can do a good old Will Disley and Noah Gray 2 touchdown parlay each.
That's for 2. He's at 101 for 2.
$5 pays you 4,300 on my book.
That is crazy.
What does that pay you for 2? Noah Gray and Will Disley. $5.
All right. Let's see here. Let's get back to.
It's a good day to experiment with this kind of thing.
All right, Noah Gray and Disley.
See, we take a whole hour talking about 2 games.
All right, you're gonna get much better. You're doing $10 on that.
$5.
Or 5.
Yep.
6,200.
No, you're better. 5's 4,300.
Oh, okay, yep.
So you want to play that on draft? That's DraftKings.
That's DraftKings.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm on FanDuel. So there you go. There's no need for us to hide.
That is. But what were you getting for 2 for Conklin?
100-1.
Yeah, see, and that's the ultimate shop around factor where I had the better on that last parlay we just mentioned, but my Tyler Conklin for 2 numbers only 45-1.
Wow. Put in 2 for Pacheco, 2 for Conklin, and tell me your payout on $5.
All right.
Mine's $3,191.
Oh yeah, I think you're going to be way better.
See, this is a good learning lesson online, right?
3,200.
Oh, we're okay.
So right about the same.
We're right about the same. All right.
Not bad plays at all there, really.
Let's see. Receiving numbers. Pacheco is the guy I like to lean on, and he did not do that job last year of alternate receiving yards. I don't get him. Let's see. We have first quarter receiving yards. McConkey, 15 yards is even money.
In the first quarter?
Yeah, just the first quarter. I mean, he probably gets that, but I don't want to. They could go 3 and out and never have the ball again.
That's true. Yep.
So I wouldn't be too excited about it. Maybe a Will Disley for 10 yards at plus 320. I'm not getting any running backs listed on the receive yards yet. Baseline for Pacheco is 8.5. So that's a low number. 17.5 for Noah Gray seems low to me. Do we get Noah Gray alternate receive yards? Yes, we do. 30 yards for him is at plus 205. They're giving me the instead of going 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, or whatever they were doing last year. They're now doing 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and stopping at 30 in most cases.
If you look at Noah Gray over here, it's 15, 25, 40, 50, 60, and increments of 10 after that.
Okay. I got Pacheco for 20 yards receiving plus 250. I do have that. So I might take a stab at a Pacheco and Barkley for their receive yards and just hope they both start on different foots, literally, than they did last year. Because that would be an interesting little 2-game parlay with those guys. In fact, let me just do that. You don't have to get much for it to pay. We just need the opportunity. And Pacheco was a decent target for Mahomes a couple years ago. He just kind of waned off him last year. It's like you don't trust him anymore, doesn't like him or something.
They may try and get back to it.
They might try to get back to it. That's the point. Hey, don't forget you have this guy. You know,
Right,
get him out
right.
and clear. Expect to see that from Derrick Henry. To the old, let's just get Derrick Henry out in space rule. You know,
Man, and he's got such a low number too. I can't wait till we get to that one.
in fact, we should just look at it in a minute. But overall, Dave, I think I might just play that McConkey and Xavier Worthy touchdown, and then I'll play with a couple of long shots for 2, knowing that they probably won't win. I won't put anything too crazy into it, but we'll have to take some Noah Gray and Disley combos, I think.
Yeah.
overall.
Well, I like I'm going to play that as well, probably with you, and I might actually throw a 20-25 on that, like we said earlier, just to have some bankroll for the weekend.
Right. All right, best bet for me if you have to play it. If you need a 2-game regular parlay, you don't want any of the spice or the juice of it, then I would take the Eagles minus the points and the under in Friday night's game.
All right.
But I do like the Eagles points total over and then this game under if you want to do it that way.
Like it.
Okay, let's see here. Is Derrick Henry on the board for his number? Let's see. Let's get to that Baltimore-Buffalo game. 2 teams we really haven't talked much about on the program yet to date. Let's see. Receiving yards for Derrick Henry. Not on the board yet. I just have 3 guys
Same.
listed. Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and Rashad Bateman.
Same.
Okay.
So we probably need to give that. Well, you know, we'll have it all come Sunday. We'll be doing our regular thing.
All right, Dave, go ahead and give me a long shot Super Bowl and give me a short shot
All right.
matchup. Give me a long shot matchup and a short shot matchup.
Let's go. The Packers for the NFC
Okay.
and the Broncos for the AFC.
Interesting. Okay, that's your short shot.
Yeah, I got to look at the.
That's going to be a good payout here. Let's see what we got.
I got to get back to the.
I realized if you do the exact matchups and the conference winners, it's a little different, but it's close. So it's worth looking at both. If you get a better payout punching in the conference winners, do it that way. But and compare it to the exact matchup number, it'll be close. Like, it'll be like one will be 125 to 1, one will be 130 to 1. But Broncos and Packers, in fact, we'll do it right here. I see it 78 to 1 odds.
I have it at 83.
So you're pretty close. Is that under exact matchups or conference winners?
Conference winners.
All right. Let me see if I can find this exact matchup. It's almost like a needle in the haystack trying to
Exact result.
find Green Bay. Looks like the AFC's listed first on my page, and Green Bay's 80 to 1. So you get a little bit better payout on the exact matchup
Okay. Yep.
than you do on the conference winners. You get 80 to 1 with the exact, 78 to 1 with the championships. Look at these lessons we're teaching, Dave.
Finding all the angles here.
All right, what's your long shot?
All right, long shot. Let's go. Let me clear that board there. All right, we'll go back. And I just used the conference winners there. It's a little easier to find.
Yep.
All right, let's go with a long shot here. NFC. Man, who's kind of realistic there as a long shot? Let's go with the Bears.
All right.
We'll plug the Bears in. And long shot from the AFC. Maybe still a little bit more realistic. Well, you'll like this one, Steve. Let's do this for you. Let's do the much improved Patriots.
They could seriously, in an AFC, maybe just maybe sneak their way in there. 500-1, Dave.
Yeah, I have it at almost 6, 597.
So you get better odds there. Now, this is the exact matchup. Let me punch it in with the conference winners and see what we get. How about that for a rematch of a Super Bowl? 40 years later, after the Patriots got killed by the fridge.
They will be improved, though. I mean, they definitely win more games this year.
Oh, it's just 300-1 if we do it with the conference winners. So it's 500-1 with the exact matchup, 300-1 with the conference winners. All right, people, do your homework out there. I don't know what else to say. We're teaching you ways to make money. This is like a coupon, Dave, listening to this program. It's like an automatic odds boost.
The odds booster.
All right. Looks like we got some people tuning in too. Good. So we appreciate you guys here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. Again, we'll be on every Sunday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time live. When you have nothing else better to do on a Sunday morning, or you're traveling the interstate or making breakfast or going to Home Depot, listening to the kids or trying not to listen to the kids. And you can tune us in on the phone. Just keep us on play, and you'll get gambling knowledge of the expert value for 5 hours straight. All right. Anything else with the Chiefs and the Eagles game, Dave?
No, Steve, I think we found some pretty good stuff for today. We'll definitely, look into it more. Maybe some more things will become available. So just kind of keep an eye out for that stuff. But as far as the start goes, with those games happening very soon, I think that's a good start for some things to look at, Steve.
All right. So we're at 3 hours and 11 minutes now. Let's see. Anything else you want to look at for the futures, Dave?
I don't think there's anything.
We did some 6 touchdown scores already. Anytime touchdown ticket, we'll hit all the Sunday stuff on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me 4 players for these first 2 games to get it. You want to go Worthy and McConkey and then pick one from the other game?
Yeah.
One from each from the other game?
Worthy and McConkey. Let's pull that back up.
You said A.J. Brown, so maybe we throw him in there, right?
And we're picking from each team, right?
Yep.
So either him or Goddard. I'll let you decide on that ticket.
Goddard spruces it up.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking. Brown's probably the more favorite to get it, but I tell you, I can see a scenario in which Goddard scores.
Okay. And then let's pick one on the Cowboys here.
Let's just make that obvious as can be with CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. 40-1 odds for me. What do you got?
Let me get back to that. Had me stuck in the futures here. All right. Let's see here.
I'll do it like this and take a picture of this.
All right. So as we're queuing that up, CeeDee Lamb. And we're going to go with Goddard?
Yep.
All right. We'll go with Goddard. Go back. Why does it do that? All right, going down. Maybe.
I think 2 of these guys score. Can the other 2 score?
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, so then we had Worthy, right?
Yep.
Worthy and McConkey. 50-1.
Okay. I got 40-1. You got 50-1. So you guys know the drill. We've been teaching it all morning. Go ahead and play around on different sites. Get the best possible number that you can. All right, Dave, I'll wrap up a preseason.
All right.
And we picked 2 games, and we'll look at a full slate on Sunday. Now, there will not be a Thursday night show this week. Week 1, because we already discussed the games. But I'm inclined to do it starting week 2. And that way we can pick the Thursday night game and kind of look at some of the storylines of the week and kind of get prepped for Sunday. And potentially looking to do that at a bar or something. So we'll play around with the mobile studio. We'll kind of get that going, and we'll see what we can do about a Thursday game. Man, it would be nice to get a sponsor for that. So if you're out there in our network land and want to sponsor a Thursday show or even a Sunday program, you can always reach out to us. The email is deepend, DEEPEND 757 at yahoo.com. Deepend 757 at yahoo.com. Our YouTube, as always, Deep End Broadcasting. Click and subscribe to that, and you can get all the content on our website, deependbroadcasting.com. That will link you to the YouTube as well. Deep End, like a swimming pool, broadcasting.com. All right, so for Nephew Dave, I'm Stephen Murray. We bid you farewell for now from our Chicks Beach studios here in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, the United States of America. We queue up the pie tasters, and we are now ready for our 4th season, Dave. 4th season of the Round Robin.
Wow.
NFL Sunday mornings, starting 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 week from today, where we will be 2 games deep and a full afternoon slate to come. Excited to say the least, right, Dave?
Absolutely.
All right, guys, time to make some money. Have a good rest of the holiday weekend. Be safe. Enjoy yourself. Good luck Thursday. Good luck Friday. And we will see you Sunday morning.